should really adjust that timer because we're never stream ready and waiting for 10 minutes. It's never gonna happen. So I should really cut that down. But I'll worry about that later. I also know we're not muted. It's supposed to be that way. Just because we're literally gonna just smooth right on in.
Here's the Kingdom got 90% on the moist meter. Let's go.
Because you can do literally anything.
You can build a dildo.
You can do whatever the hell you want in that game.
And everybody decides to crucify Korok, as they should.
Yeah. Everyone is finding new and inventive ways to torture Koroks.
That's funny.
Okay. We should be good to go. So let's slide on over to here. Yay, it's good. It's right. I did it. Hi everybody.
I'm proud of you.
It's us. Here, again, the Saber Slave Podcast, Spring Season, Week 3. That's right, we're missing Michael and Mason has shaved. Somehow, this is the ever-changing podcast. Perhaps next week I will be full shaven and Michael will still not be here. That's not true. I won't full shave. John is also not in his usual recording spot, but do not ask any questions.
Ignore the videos in the background.
Hey guys, what things we've been up to? I don't know if John knows what I'm about to do, so this is fun. I have not played it yet. Oh boy, my video blur is gonna make that fun.
I think that was a beautiful blur.
I know, right? Give me
reference those Tears of the Kingdom for people who are curious who could not read that.
Don't worry, I'm about to. Oh my. Here we go. It's gonna pop up real quick, but it's fine. We're just gonna change it. Yeah, there we go. Good old Tears of the Kingdom. I told Mason, I've had the same wired Pro controller for a very long time, so I felt new one needed.
Ooh, shiny.
Has not been opened because, again, have not played the game. And then the other investment I made, which is by far going to be the funniest thing to show on stream, that I also have not again, tells you what my week's been like.
Ooh.
Still in the box. I haven't opened it. I bought this literally Friday, I think. Well, when did Tears come out? Saturday or Friday?
Thursday.
Huh?
Thursday night, Friday morning.
Okay, so Friday. I would have bought it after work day of release, so it would have been Friday. But yeah, so those are some things. Let's now go back to the blur because I prefer it. Those were some things I have gotten. Things I've done. I've read more of One Piece. We are post Thriller Bark. I'm basically going a chapter a podcast episode at the rate I'm moving. We'll see how long that. Yeah, an arc. Yeah, chapter. Imagine we'd be here forever.
You went like 3 arcs from the last podcast because we were talking about.
Well, we had the long break. Yeah, yeah, because I did just blitz through Water 7 Ennie's Lobby.
It's that good.
Last week, and then Thriller Bark was a little bit of a slog. Not nearly as bad as I thought it was going to be based on how some people talk about it. I adore Brooke. They've just to get you an exact pinpoint of where I am. I have finished through the Duval stuff. So wanted poster Sanji. So I am heading into Saboti Archipelago.
Sanji actually getting a bounty soon?
He already has a bounty. It's just on the wrong person, technically. But yeah, I'm trying to think if there was any major thing. Mason and I talked a decent bass about it, about the stuff that happens at the end of Thriller Bark. What the fuck?
You mean Zoro's rawest moment?
Yeah, what the fuck? Also gets new sword based.
I thought what's his name shows up and just like
Kuma.
Yeah, I don't know if they named him or not.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they name him way early. They name him at the same time they name Don Quixote, Doflamingo.
That's why Doflamingo's been introduced already.
Yeah, he's killed a man. Maybe. Probably. It sure seems like it.
Knowing him, he probably did.
I mean, given the way this manga's worked, no one's died yet, except for Baby Bellamy. Isn't that crazy? I
What do you
wound
mean?
up.
No. I guess Nami's mom isn't dead. She's just
Well,
locked in
no,
the basement.
anybody who's in the past is a different story. They're allowed to die. I mean,
She's not dead.
active
She's just
characters in
trapped
the
in
story.
Arlong's basement, right, Mason?
We're gonna
According
have
to
to.
PBS.
No. But I wound up going into Thriller Bark not really liking Moria, and wound up leaving Thriller Bark actually kind of liking Moria. Kuma showing up does wonders for that character, i.e. it gets him off his fucking ass and he becomes like a real character that has to be dealt with, which is nice.
Moria is actually a really solid villain once he actually becomes a villain.
Yeah.
And not like a just kind of neutral
A
force.
joke character.
It's just like even to begin with, the idea of when he is just a villain whose mentality is I let my underlings do it for me because I don't have to. I'm that good. Like I don't care. When he is on the battlefield and the argument becomes you are going to fail, Luffy, because you trust your comrades and you should instead be using them or else you're not going to make it out here on the Grand Line. That's a different kind of character. It is much better to have that kind of butting heads there. I won't speak too much else on One Piece. I watched the next episode of Blue Orchestra. I really liked it. It does a little bit more of the knife thrusting, but maybe not in the ways that is expected. They also do a very common music duet thing. So basically, just because I don't know, Mason's probably not going to watch it, and I don't know, John, you're probably not going to continue it.
I did watch the fifth episode actually a little bit.
Okay, so yeah, so they play together, and whoa, they both show off award-winning solo performers, so they don't really mesh too well intentionally on their part because what's his face, gray hair guy, is just it's kind of like Anno's just playing the play. I'm gonna make him play seriously. So they wind up sounding not too great in terms of like meshing, but they sound good on an individual level. And then everybody else plays, and between Anno and him playing and everyone else playing, the female senpai who's there for the strings goes, "Hey, wait a minute, I know you. You're Anno," says last name, and then every single person in the classroom starts to whisper about him, and he gets trauma flashback.
Oh no, what's his name?
Yeah, it sends him into a very deep momentary state of depression. Understandably so. And then music gets him out of it. Surprise.
Wow.
But the weird thing about episode 5 is that it sets up the other individual award-winning violinists as not really like a rival, like a I don't like you. Like, he's more of just a dude. Like, he seems part of the gang by the end of the episode, which is interesting of a direction to take that. I don't think it's incredible. I think I would have rather watched it over one of our shows this week. We'll talk about it. What have you guys been up to?
I just put Sprite on my pants.
Nice.
Proud of
That's
you.
pretty hype. I think it was Sprite. Could have just been water from like the condensation, but sorry, go ahead, Mason.
Let's see. Well, this happened, but that happened like an hour ago, maybe. I watched all of Invincible. That show's wild.
Yeah.
Like, I had seen clips of that show before, and I knew how it ended up going.
Did you know the thing? There's a big thing in Invincible that I feel like would normally be something that would stray you away from watching it. Did you know of that going into it, or did that hit you like a train?
I knew about that.
Okay.
Because I had seen the clip of the last episode.
Okay.
Before.
Everyone's seen that clip.
Everyone's seen that clip because it's the meme of think, Mark, think.
Think, Mark, think.
The one that got me was, where's Mark, William? Where's Mark? But that show's really good. I cannot get over the fact that Mark is just Peter Parker and Amber is just Mary Jane Watson. I love it though.
It's almost like it's an ideal.
It is. They're great. Robert Kirkman knows how to write a comic and a show.
Yeah.
Who would have guessed? But yeah, I did that. Excuse me. I've been playing a lot of Final Fantasy 14. I started crafting. That's been a rabbit hole. Luckily they made crafting a lot better in Endwalker and everything. Like, they started a thing in Endwalker that makes it a lot easier to level crafters, and I like that because I'm not wasting time. I've been working, and I go to GDQ in 2 weeks. That's about it. What have you been up to, John?
Not too much. I worked a lot this weekend. I literally worked Thursday, Friday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. And Saturday we went to round 1. We were playing it for a bit, and I was trying to get the stupid fucking penguin, and I was just fucking and Amber comes up next to me and wants to try, and looks at the next cubicle and it's like, oh, that dog looks cute. And so she's playing it for once, and I play the other one time and get the doggy and win it, and I'm like, back to the penguin grind. I've done my job. Yeah, I am at Amber's right now, in case you're curious. This is the setup. Hence the pink microphone and not cat girl earphones, because I'm not letting you get a video of that again, for bribery. I played a tiny bit of Tears of the Kingdom. I got through like the tutorial, and made it to the mainland, I guess you could say. But I heard that game is absolutely wild because it brings back like dungeons and stuff, and like I've tried to avoid spoilers as much as possible.
Yeah,
Which I want
as
to watch
have I.
RT, which I'd love to watch like Critical's video, like RT Game's video, like everyone's videos on it. It's like I fucking can't because I want to fucking play it and just experience it blind.
I did that for Breath of the Wild. Very happy.
With all the stupid fucking Koroks and bullshit in this game, and like I know for a fact some of these puzzles are gonna make me feel like the dumbest motherfucker.
Mm-hmm.
I've been spoiled on one thing, and that's it. And that's the Deku Tree stuff.
I will.
Which
I don't know
was
about
going
that.
to be.
I will not elaborate
know what it
on this. I have literally also been avoiding trailers and gameplay stuff. Obviously, I know about the ridiculous building nonsense and
Yeah, of course.
you know
It's hard to miss that,
and
but
mistreatment of
no matter what
Koroks.
I mean, Chris buying them is a requirement, but it's okay.
I also wasn't too aptly aware of character design. Like I knew Zelda's character design change. I know Ganon's. I didn't really know Link's all that much, in that I didn't know he had longer hair in this game, which I did find out today through
It's to show
reasons.
that time has passed.
Yeah,
It's hot.
I did find out through reasons, and we will not elaborate any farther. Yeah. So other note, real quick. You might be wondering, where is Michael? He's away. Don't worry about it. He'll be back. Smile.
Yeah, but I worked a lot this week. A fun fact, I missed my league playoffs because I had to work, and the other team would refuse to reschedule to either Tuesday or Wednesday or Saturday, and it's like, whatever. And then my team got fucking promptly 0-2'd and got gigabot diffed, and I was like, man, feels bad. But that's okay. If I care that much, I would have taken time off. But I am going to ASEN this weekend, so that's going to be really fun, and I'll have stuff back from that. And I signed up for NAIC today as well, which is the North American International Championships for Pokemon. So busy couple months ahead.
Let's go.
But yeah.
I'm gonna throw this to Mason real quick, because we have our other news segment from last week. Mason, what show had the best episode this week?
So, like, it was tough. I have two, because I flip-flopped for a long time on which was going to be number one this week. I think Insomniacs is probably, it's what I have as my number one, just because
Ooh.
that episode was fucking beautiful. My other one, I would say, was Dead Mount Death Play, because that show kind of went crazy this week.
If you had to pick one, though.
If I had to pick one, I would probably say Dead Mount, just because it did quite a bit this week where I was surprised with it, and I was it raised my ranking of that show quite a bit. So,
John?
There's a lot of good stuff this week. I really like Skip and Loafer as per usual, but I don't think it was the best episode of the week. I think it was just more of the same good stuff. More of that good wholesome shit that makes my tummy go yay. Like Mason said, I think Dead Mount Death Play was fantastic. Which is something I didn't really rate it that highly, but I put it pretty high up this week because I think it was just a really good episode. It develops a lot of characters and stuff, and it adds more like question as to what the hell is going on here. you don't know how badly I wanted to watch the next episode of Mashle this week. Not because I thought this week's was really good, but because I want to see what the fuck this guy does to this dumbass iron bender over here, fucking tough looking ass. But I probably have to go with I think my number one was it Skip and Loafer? Can we flip Insomniacs and Skip and Loafer now? I think did I put Insomniacs first?
I
don't
can
remember.
I can do it. I could do it after podcast because
I would say Insomniacs is probably actually number one because like
okay.
a lot of the set pieces in the episode were just like absolutely like stunning. The way they did like the reflective stuff and like obviously they're playing it for the cameras and that, but like it was fantastic. It was wonderful. The best episode we actually belongs to Oshinoko, but that's not on the podcast, so I can't
Okay, so
we got to the Akane part, so I'm just saying that.
So we have Dead Mount Deathplay. You're saying Insomniacs, and after podcast, I will fix all the stats to reflect that.
That's okay. Yeah.
I think the best episode this week was Skip and Loafer. I really do. I'm gonna talk more about it when we talk about the show. But I think it does exactly what I wanted it to from last week. Last week, my major critique was I thought it was focusing on the wrong characters. This week, I think it's focusing on the right characters, and I really adore some of the stuff we get in terms of how they're flushing out characters. And we'll talk more at length about that. So now we'll just move right on into it. Again, PR spoilers. This is the old one. Give me a minute.
Oh wow, it's a funny looking PR. I don't remember this one.
There we go. I mean, the one on screen is the old one. You guys have the new one.
I don't remember my alias passwords. It's tragic.
So yeah. There are a couple of things that obviously stand out about this PR.
Did I do something stupid or did Mason do something stupid?
No, just the bottom, I think, is what Mason's chuckling at.
Yeah.
Mason.
I am really interested to talk a little bit about a couple of things. I can't wait to hear your thoughts on Mashle this week. I get that you're excited to watch the next episode, but very excited about why it's there. I'm also really excited to hear you talk about Yamada this week.
Yeah.
That's But to be fair, Mason and I talked about your power ranking, John, which is usually your middle of the pack just gets thrown around.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And this week the middle of the pack is really anything above the bottom two, probably is safe to say. Mine probably I have a clear bottom. I have a clear bottom one in my mind, and I'll talk about the others where they are. I will adjust data.
I have a reason why Hell's Parade is actually so low this week, and it's actually a good reason, I think.
It's gonna be really funny to talk about because we'll get into it when we get into it. Which is of course right away. Mason, let's talk about Hell's Paradise. This week is Samurai and a Girl or Samurai and a Woman.
Yeah. So this girl lives up in the mountains and she runs into some samurai and they're like, hey, it's customary to like bring us back to your village and offer us rest. And she's like, oh, sure. And then they murder everyone. Like every single person. And so she runs away and then gets caught and brought to the Asaimon to get executed. And meets this up-and-coming samurai who's just a good boy.
He's so good.
He's just a good boy. He's just a dog. Like, he's just a golden retriever.
My favorite character trope.
Right?
Man who is just a golden retriever.
Wait, we're talking about Stephen Loafer already?
We'll get to him later, too.
He's just like, hey, there's no reason a kid should be dying and not being executed. So, like, I can't do anything about this, but, like, if you could be pardoned, you should go do that. So, like,
I'm going to change real quick.
Off to Hell's Paradise we go. And then they are on a boat trying to get off the island, and Cthulhu appears. Just...
It's a lot.
I don't think I'm wrong.
It's a lot. It's too many tentacles to be any known sea creature or any mythological creature besides something of another world.
Yes. And the girl, while they're like trying to get through there, the boat gets all fucked up, and the samurai's like holding off the tentacles from them killing the kid, and the kid just kind of sits there and is just like, no, just believe me, you can go, but like I'm gonna stay and I'm just die. And the samurai's like, why? Help me understand. I'm stupid. Why? And she's like, well, I'm the reason my village died, so I should pay for that. And the samurai is like, okay, but like that doesn't make sense, and I'm not leaving until I understand, because I'm dumb. He continues calling himself stupid. And eventually the kid, he convinces the kid to live. And then we find out the kid's a girl, when they like wash the blood off their clothes. And then, yeah, that's...
Other half of the episode focuses on our female Sayamon.
Yeah, Sagiri. So, I think his name is Genjiro.
Yeah, something along this line.
The big dude, comes up to her and is just like, hey, you should go home. She's like, what? Why? And he's like, you're a woman. You can't handle this. And she starts thinking on it. And then she comes to the realization that Gabimaru made her like feel like she could actually do this job and go on. And also she can, because she, like, being a woman doesn't define her. And so she wakes up in the next morning and she's like, hey, no, I'm not leaving. And he's like, no, I don't think you understood me. You're leaving. Like, you're a woman. What are you worth it? Like, what are you worth? You should be at home making babies.
God, the amount of times he says that to her is honestly ridiculous.
It's awful.
We're at the reason why I hated this episode. Perfect.
So, and she goes, no, like, if I'm at home, I'm the daughter of the worst motherfucker in our village. And if I stay here, I am a worthless executioner who can't do her job. I can fix one of those things.
Yeah.
So I'm fixing it. And he's like, no, I'm putting you on the boat. And as he says this, the big dude that has not taken off his mask and just like didn't even like get up when all of the convicts were killing one another, just kind of comes up behind him and just takes a chunk out of his like midsection.
Yeah.
And that's how the episode ends.
There is the part before he shows up where he draws the sword on her and she fucking takes it out of his hand. Just yeets it.
And she just goes, you should be able to claim a weapon on the battlefield.
Yeah, you know, it's really good.
She just kept it.
This back and forth about whether she should stay or go does take too long.
It does.
It eats a little bit of time that feels like maybe something else could have been used for it, but I think everything with her other pair, explaining you know, what you should and shouldn't focus on the island, you know, that even if you get the elixir, you need to find the current path that will let you leave. Like, it's doing a lot of establishment for what the end game is, which is interesting to be doing right now. And I generally really like this episode. I don't think it's a bad episode by any means. I just think everything I put above it is better than it this week. That's really how I feel. Yeah. It has a couple of hitches that maybe help with that, obviously, but overall, like one of the lines I really enjoyed from this episode was from her when they're talking, where what she directly says is, I can either go home where I'm the daughter, like you said, of the most hated man, and you know, nobody likes me, everybody mistreats me, or I can be a samurai. In which doing that, I still constantly have to deal with the glare of hatred from my father. She's basically saying, if I go home, everybody else hates me. My dad likes me, the Asayamon are pleased that I'm just there, but I have to deal with, like, the whole rest of the world looking at me as, like, this horrid person who's not worth it. But if I am doing this job, I have to deal with my father and the Asayamon looking at me like that. And it really is a matter of she can live with one of those, not the other, which is understandable. We've seen how she's been raised.
Yeah. Her dad's an asshole.
Yeah.
I will say, like, well, I did like some of the episodes. Like, I liked the world building and stuff, like you mentioned. I like the ship part. Like, also went on a little bit too long.
I
I
like
like
that
it,
set
but, like,
piece a lot. And for introducing 2 new characters, I felt like it stayed just enough time.
feels a little wild that they get out of there, though. I guess.
But, you know, we
but
can't kill off
also-
too many characters one episode.
Also, I'm not sure, like, what allows this girl to be able to fight, I guess. Some secret plan technique, I guess we're going to find out about, probably. Or are they just, like, here for the ride? Because really, they should be pretty useless.
For the exact same
logically.
reason that Sanji's lake is on fire and he's fine.
Fair.
That'd be
Yeah, but
my
he's
bet.
cool.
I think she's cool. I really like her character. I've liked her
fair.
character
That's
since she was
fair.
introduced, and I didn't think this was a good one. A nice little androgynous character who you wouldn't be able to tell. And this isn't
like-
unnecessarily awkward or like prolonged in like a sexual way for this reveal too. It's just a good old boy going, "I am raised with strict morals. Please put clothes on or turn around."
I mean, it makes sense too because it's like, yeah, no, she's a mountain person. Like,
Yeah.
that tracks.
But now, if we can speak of things that were awkward and for too long, you're a woman and should go home. Going on for like the other half of the episode got really old really fast.
He does say it a lot, probably
it's
too
like-
much.
It's like,
Understandably,
misogyny.
understandably, it makes
misogyny.
sense for the setting and the time. But again, we maybe could have done without 1 or 2 of them. I get it.
Yeah.
I think it's
But-
fair.
It's just like, I like how she's like, but I need to do this because it's my job. But you're a girl, and it's like, yeah, and a warrior, but a girl. Like, it
He
was
really
like,
is the worst.
it's actually just terrible.
Shoutouts to our other Asayamon who's with them, who's just like, hey, hear me out though. Like, I think it's a
You
bad
really
idea for
should
you to
probably
leave.
go home.
You
Yeah.
should no. He's like, you should
Oh,
stay.
that's right.
I don't think you like. I can see both sides to this argument, and the one time that's an okay thing to say, I guess. And he's just like, nah. If I had to pick, you should stay. Like, I don't think either of us can actually handle Gabimaru because he's intelligent and not an
For some reason,
idiot.
he thinks you can.
Yeah, he really. Well, I mean, it's an interesting. I like that they're acknowledging the fact that the way we saw her in episode 1 and the way she's been acting in episodes 3 to 5 are vastly different, and I appreciate a character who is actively there to see it go, no, I know you're strong. What's wrong? You're suddenly around all these people and you can't handle me? And I like the show acknowledging it and it not feeling like it's just something that's been written for the character that is just here. Instead, it's something that's actively being addressed, which is, I think, good.
But yeah, I mean, like, it's like, I don't think it's a particularly terrible episode. That part like really brings it down a bit. Just with how long it went on for, and I think a lot of those shows just had really good episodes this week. Obviously, I'm very high on like my top 3. I'm still like really intrigued by Heavenly Delusion. So I feel like it's still it's doing similar like world building things and like kind of does a different type of it's a different type of show, of course, but like but in terms of that, I think like Mashle is setting up for something I'm really interested for next week. That's why it like jumped pretty high for me. And then like Dead Mount Deathplay we mentioned is like one of the better episodes of the week.
And we'll talk
So it's
about
like I don't think
all of
Health Play was
those.
particularly bad. I just don't think it's like a top 3 for me this week.
I can see it.
It really hasn't
Let's-
been. So
Yeah, that's why when I looked at it, I'm like, no, this makes sense. Like, it dropped on mine, it dropped on Mason's, it makes sense it drops on yours. You've just had it lower consistently. So it makes sense. I'm not surprised by your placement of the show. Let's run into Heavenly Delusion. Michael's not here, so we'll just talk about it. God, I'm trying to remember where we start in this episode, because I more remember the end of it.
we start with him in the arcade.
Yeah, they're in the new city. She's getting the battery recharge. No, that's
She's meeting about a CD that she's gonna try to sell.
yeah. She's trying to sell the CD. And he is chilling in an arcade where some guys come up and fuck up his arcade game, bro. What the hell? You shouldn't do that. They get fucking owned. But then they also like hit him with that moral. Hey, we get it. He deserved a punch. Why'd you have to kick him though? And he's like, ah, shit, you're right. I probably shouldn't have done that. And then he gets sucker punched and loses a tooth. we then worry about potentially them coming back to, you know, hunt him down. We get introduced to a concept of basically a group that is trying to restore the world to where it once was. We also get a plot point about this guy who wants to hire them so that they to go to a doctor who is said to be able to prolong life, and he has in a jar parts of man-eaters that have unfortunately gone bad. But they get the information on where to go from him. This all happens in a location of like an apartment complex they crash in, where we also get a scene. We'll talk. I'm gonna save that for the last part of this conversation. Meanwhile, in child prison, cause that's what I'm calling it now. By the way, we didn't do the spoilers and harsh language abound for this episode. Do not spoil anything in chat past episode 5's, obviously. We're gonna keep continuing now that that's out of the way. The one kid, I don't remember his name. It starts with a T.
Tokyo?
Tokyo dies from his illness.
Oh, no, not Tokyo. Because Tokyo is the blonde-haired girl that looks like Maru.
Okay.
Toya.
Toya, I'm glad that was what I was gonna say, so I'm glad it's sticking. Toya dies from his disease. To which then we have surprise suicide brought up from a previous child. Thanks, show. Really love that. Just popping in there.
Yeah, that one
does what it. This show does what it does. There's something weird going on. The children should not have these feelings, as we know. They cremate the body, and when they cremate the body, there's a little thing inside. I wouldn't call it little. There's a thing inside him. Looks kind of man-eater-ish. Same kind of vein of funky shit that shouldn't be in a human body, but we don't really know.
They're not human, silly.
Yeah, let's move back over to the other. I think that's all that happens in child prison. They find the footprint, but that doesn't really go anywhere. Because the guy who's investigating it, who's like the head doctor, gets sidetracked by child dying and questions about the dying child.
He looks at like one shoe. He goes, not this one. And then he goes, what are we doing? Dancing.
Throwing rocks.
All right, the search is over.
He's like, we're done
here.
The
search is over.
Yeah. I'm sure we'll get back to him and his wacky antics
later.
This
kid had super strength too before he became a fucking...
Yeah, apparently he was a boss.
Breath of the Wild cursed heart or something, I don't know.
But back to the scene we probably need to talk about. They are collecting a stash of important books to sell. Any books they read that are useful knowledge, they burn. And when she makes her way back to the apartment complex, he is reading porn in the other room. Which, you know what? Ooh. It's fine. Whatever. Then they have like an emotional moment where like it's very clear that it's like that the show is trying to explain to us that like the sisterly like protective behavior has kind of blurred with his mental in one person now, in this new person we have. So that she feels legitimately concerned, thinking that, oh no, he disappeared, and the thugs who he got into a fight maybe came and caught him and beat him up or something. But no, he was just in the other room, you know, porn. And then while they have a nice emotional hugging scene, boner town.
It was funny. Man had a half chub. He wasn't done.
The additional commentary afterwards, I think, does a good job to lighten the mood. Here's what this scene does that worries me. It now makes me think that this is a show that may just give us a full-on sex scene at some point in time. And while that's not inherently a bad thing,
there could be two at the same time in different places.
You're absolutely right. And while that's not inherently a bad thing, we are mainly dealing with children in this show.
I mean, Kiriko's like 20 or like 18, but yeah,
probably, maybe, hopefully.
They're all like late teens, which is still
Yeah, we also do get a little bit into his backstory about the girl he was traveling with previously, but also his backstory, which is I was shuffled around from adult to adult to adult to adult into gang until I met my unemotional Dere, who taught me nothing. besides how to fight and kill Kali Ma. I think that does this episode justice. I think this show is still a really good show. I am still not quite on board to jump in it and be like, yeah, all the way, man, best show of the season. It hasn't fully sold me yet that it's going to keep good consistency and that what it's doing is like going to be something worth watching. I don't know what the hook we're trying to grab onto is. I think we're heading to the doctor, which is at least something. But I don't really know what we're doing in child prison. Besides baby or other kid also getting sick. There could be a couple of reasons she's throwing up. We'll have to see. Heavenly Delusion is certainly a show.
It's a show, all right. There's a reason why I put it lower. We didn't need... Like, I understand the porn bit, 'cause it's like he's a kid. He's 15 or something like that. But also, like, we didn't need it.
Like, I get we're also going through, like, the complicated feelings for a person who is a man's mind in woman's body. They have the conversation earlier, too, which is, like, but you didn't get, like, attracted to other girls you've traveled with, which is a clear, like, no, that, like, there was no emotion whatsoever on, like a connection level. This is different. Which, like, I think that plot point is interesting. It did almost feel like it came out of nowhere on the ship, which is also maybe why these scenes are a little for me, is that I don't know if, like, we've earned proof of, like, I'm so attracted to you beforehand, but we're in it now. There is no getting out of it. I just like what I have above it better. And I'm in a really odd spot with Yamada-Kun in it, is what I'll say. And I'll talk about that more at the end of the podcast when we get to Yamada-Kun.
I think that's fair. I don't think Evolution is I think it definitely had a weaker week. I do think it was a bit interesting with, like, how they're doing these two stories, and that's what I think is, like, still drawing me to it, is, like, the big, like, what actually is going on, and, like, are we in the same time here? Are we not in the same time? Because, like, there's so many similarities between the kids obviously in there and our main boy, and, like, the stuff he can do that only he can do, because he's probably not human, is, like, what my brain wants to say. But, like, at the same time, it's like, well, obviously all these kids have very special abilities and stuff based off of, like, animals or something, or maybe, like, injected with things of these beasts, and that causes them to become nearly immortal. They're trying to figure out how to make them immortal. Like, this guy's presenting this idea to us, but I do like how it's, like, sprinkling in these little ideas here and there about that stuff, and
we also
I just like the mystery of the show, to be honest.
Yeah, we also do get some, like, at-large world building of, like, how did the Great Calamity happen? The biggest, most awful, evilest, tragic event in human mankind history. Certainly not like that. I'll tell you that much.
God, wouldn't it be crazy if, like,
dude, if Kodaka comes out with a tweet and is like, "This is actually part of my universe," I would scream.
People got scared of technology. I mean, we had an Orwell drop, pretty hype.
We're gonna talk about that episode.
Yeah, that was wild.
There are a lot of things in that episode that we're gonna have to...
Heavenly Delusion said 1984 as well, didn't it?
No,
that was Marginal.
They
talked about war, and they talked
right.
about, like, war theory ending the world, and, like,
the drones.
What I did really like was the conversation they have where she's basically like, yeah, it's odd to hear, like, it's odd not to know what the world was like previously, but have people who are like, oh, but I would go back to it, even if, like, the theory that the world ended was through, like, war and, like, hatred and destruction of each other. They still want to go back to that time. It's weird. I like that pretty accurate post-wartime, post-tragedy depiction of human thought. I think it's very nice. The show has a lot of stuff I really like about it. Let's talk about Mashle this week. This week we get our new character, Dot?
Yeah, Dot.
Dot. He is not quite the character type I was expecting. He's close. Yeah. He's close. He's something. There are a lot of moments in this episode that did get me. That very much did get me. First, the boys gotta do potions. Two things in the potion bit that killed me.
Forgot about this
The
shit.
sound effect
So
this happens
good.
twice. It happens both times that Mash slaps somebody this episode. The sound effect it makes when he slaps people, the little it kills me every time I hear it. And then also he just only makes cream puffs, which, while the cream puff bit in general might be running stale for some people, I adore it in the potion part of this episode. It is absolutely hysterical. Fucking, is it Lance?
Lance, yeah.
Yeah, Lance.
Yeah.
Lance being like, I watched you. I watched every
How
step.
did you do this?
How did you make a
cream
cream
puff?
puff? Killed me. We get introduced to the 3 schools, not 4. That's crazy. Why would there be 4? To the 3 schools where we just slam Slytherins and Ravenclaws together. Don't worry about it. And we have like this evil midnight occult meeting of the blue school, who are just like, hey, we're gonna win. No one else can get these medals. Keep that in mind. We move into the next day, where we have a class, an in-the-field examination for the class, where they are to go kill scorpions. And in these scorpions have gems on their heads, and some of them have square gems on their heads, and those will get you silver medals if you kill them. And before the exam begins, this guy walks up and taunts Mash, and then also slams a stone pillar into his chest. To which Mash gives him a dirty glare, and it's like, don't mess with him. He got held back. He got held back, but it is basically as powerful as an upperclassman would be. And it's just sitting here as a first year who bullies, other first years and teachers. You're just better to ignore him. And Mash goes, oh, thank goodness my cream puff didn't get crushed. And Lance realizes, oh, this was why. We also get our introduction to Dot, who is very upset about all mankind putting him down and preventing him from finding the true loves of his life, as no woman will take him seriously because there's just too many other good guys out there. Too many other hot guys out there. Too many other dumb guys out there. Unfortunately for him, he is dumb, but not hot, and maybe not too good.
And a guy?
He loses out on a lot of things. And Doc gets very mad at Mash for potentially having a girlfriend and or fiance, despite whatever Mash may say. Lance then tries to stick with Mash as they go into the exam and immediately loses him. Mash then immediately runs into Dot. Dot then immediately runs in. They then hear a girl scream. And then Dot, without asking any question, explodes a kid. He then gets caught by this girl's trap, which she then doubts whether or not she even needed. Probably not. To which she can use her magic to make herself even more cute kawaii. It does not work on Mash. Surprise. He does not know anything about romance. He barely knows anything about anything. And she then sells Dot on this story of, oh no, the senior who got held back, he's making me do horrible things with my magic. Someone must stop him, oh please. It's clearly a setup. They're clearly in on it together. But the senior shows up and Dot multi-explosions him. Unfortunately, he encased himself in stone. And then shoved the stone into Dot's gut. And this is where we end off. Also, Lance is busy being a babysitter. Don't worry about it. It'll be fine over there. There's also a really good part of this episode where Lance looks at Mash and is like, I'm never going to lose to you again, but I'm absolutely never going to let anyone else fucking beat you since I did lose to you. That ain't happening. Either I'm gonna be the Divine Emissary, or I'm gonna be the Divine Visionary, or I'm gonna be the guy who lost to the Divine Visionary. No in-betweens here. No one else.
I will lose everyone in
Lance
between.
A fucking homie.
There is
and I
also
love him.
always something comedic about him walking up and Mash going, the lolicon. He goes, Siscon, get it right. I
That was
wear
the
the term with
funniest
pride. It's like, you need to stop.
No, Siscon, big difference.
I love that line of, oh, it's the lolicon. That's Siscon
On to you. Only my passionate friends can call me
Or
a
my
lolicon.
closest friends could call me a lolicon.
Only my sister can call me a lolicon. No, I overall did really like this episode. I thought it had a lot of good humorous points. I am interested to see it going. It's Mashle to me. That's really what I said. We also get a character who has 3 lines. Who's the head of that
Pretty
other
scary.
group? Puppet Dude got 3 lines.
Yeah.
Because he got the 2, and then he's got one that comes down and like crosses them.
He said the cheetah like he has an L on his forehead. He's a loser.
Puppet Dude is fun.
I'm excited
I like
for the
him.
bad guys of this show. I'm interested to see what they've got.
I'm excited for Mash to somehow meander his way to the bad guys as per usual.
Knowing what I know about this show.
Mason, stop. Is he gonna be like the fucking Zorro of this? He's the fucking Zorro, isn't he? Where he just like gets lost and finds his way in the worst spot.
They're absolutely all Zorro, is what I've learned from this episode. No one has any good sense of direction except for Lance.
I will say I do really enjoy it. I love Lemon and Finn as a unit.
Please don't leave us.
They're the worst, and I love them.
I hate those characters so much, but for some reason they're starting to grow on me, and I hate it.
They
Yes.
give off very early Nami Usopp vibes, where it's like, no, we aren't here. Leave us alone. We don't want anything to do with you.
Yep.
We're just students of the art.
I don't know these guys. In fact, they've kidnapped me. Not me. I'm not with them. Don't mind me.
Just Usopp for being so fucking self-deprecating. He's immune to fear.
Based
He's immune
Usopp
to depression
W.
because he's always depressed.
Base Usopp moment. Wait for the basest
I'm pretty
Usopp moment.
sure in the subtext it literally says, "I'm already depressed."
It
in all
does.
caps.
It does. It's very good.
It's fucking amazing.
Any other
Anyways,
thoughts on Mashle?
Mashle was really good. Like you said, there's a lot of good like one-liners in this show. Like the show might not make you belly laugh a lot, but it certainly is gonna make you chortle sometimes. Like you're just gonna see a line, and just be like, and like it does that a lot. The
Dude,
cream puff bits, I feel
Dot's
like
faces are so good.
the cream puff bit, really enough, not overstaying its welcome.
Yeah, it's funny.
I think it's because cream puffs are good, baby. I love me some cream puffs.
Look,
It's-
it's because they change how they do the cream puff bit.
Yeah.
Like the bit with the potions killed me, and it kills me every
So
time I
fucking
see
good.
it. Like it
It was
killed me
so
when
good.
I read it, and then I saw it again, and I was just like, no, this is still funny.
But that one was a banger one.
I also enjoy when the rest of the cast. I enjoy that the rest of the cast is also slowly getting more and more in on the cream puff bit. Like we had it before where it was like, you want a cream puff? He's like, oh fuck yeah, and now it's like, you want a cream puff? Not right now. We gotta go make a potion. That somehow wound up being a
I
cream
was like, how
puff.
that guy is just like, hey, this is just what happens. You're gonna deal with it. Also, we don't even get a resolution for the class. It's just like he probably failed.
The crazy thing is, I like to imagine that he made the potion right. It just took the form of a cream puff because mash.
Because
So I like to imagine he didn't fail that assignment, because boy,
That's
does he have to
it
have
was
some
green
W's.
inside.
It was green inside, exactly.
I just love how you just have Lancer just like, what the fuck happened? I was watching the whole thing. When did it become a cream puff?
That's my favorite bit.
Him in the yellow apron is also very good. And the
Yes.
way they describe the quieting spell or the sleep spell of just, you have to soothe them, be very nice and calm, go about it in like a very like it's basically Lance going, yes, caress that mandrake, caress that mandrago.
Why did it get bigger? I don't know, but it is now. But I like how he's just like, yes, anything physical I can copy exactly.
That makes sense. He knows how to cook.
Fuck.
It's also a level of that the ingredients shouldn't make a cream puff. The process of the cooking shouldn't make a cream puff.
But God, divine intervention.
It's so funny. It's just this. It's this specific manga's bit of just like everything ends up turning into a cream puff for some reason, and it's just funny.
It's very good.
Yeah, Mashle get some points for that this week. I'm excited to see how that, because we're gonna get a fight. We better get a fight, or I'm gonna fucking put this at the bottom. But I want to see this fight so badly. So I just want to see him like punch this fucking rock guy or whatever he is.
Hi, we also have got
First
the
thing
thing
we're
we
looking
talked
at.
about last week, which is that everybody's got their own magic, their own kind of specialty. It's like fairy tale in that regard, or most animes with magic, where people usually have their thing. There are some things that multiple people can do. And I'm fine with that. I think that's... I don't think there is a good compelling way to write combat, especially for a shonen, if everybody has the same tools. That is, like, in Magic, per se. I think there's a reason Harry Potter fights are boring as fuck.
Mhm.
They have 3 spells.
And they all
And-
equally counter each other.
And also, one of them just does many different things depending on what's needed
Yeah.
in that specific moment. For
Hilarious.
only one character, though, yes.
Which is the fucking entry level spell you learn, but he's really good at it. Trust
This
us,
is-
guys. It
this
counters
is-
Avada Kedavra.
This is why One Piece and, like, this is why stuff like One Piece and My Hero, are engaging, and even Fairy Tail to that degree, is that individual powers mean individual solutions to different conflicts. It means that you can have interesting power matchups where it's like, this person is going to be a counter to this person, but perhaps at the given point you're at, another member of the team wouldn't be able to win that fight, even if they are stronger than the one who's currently fighting them.
Well, so the thing is it's really a difference between soft magic and hard magic
Yeah.
systems. And like hard magic systems will always generally feel better because you have a set of rules, so
Mhm.
you know how they're going to play out. And it's the very fun ways of breaking and bending those rules by virtue of creativity that actually makes it feel nice to read and watch.
Yeah, I argue that because Naruto doesn't go into it enough, it kind of lacks in that regard. The chakra natures just aren't as cool or like as fleshed out or feel as impactful as they probably should be.
Until they actually
It's-
explain it,
it's
like,
just-
right? Like, once they explain it, it actually does feel
By
kinda
the
cool.
time natures become important and you start to really see them, the power level's already off the roof, that it does not matter. And that's like one of the critiques I can give that. Hey guys, let's talk about Skip to Loafer.
Yeah. So skipping over this week, we had our sports festival, of course. So everyone's got to sign up for different sports. And Mitsumi's having a conundrum. She's talking to her boy. She's like, "Listen, this might come as a surprise, but I'm uncoordinated." And he's like, "No, yeah, I know. But like, I'm
We
not
all
good at
know.
sports. We all know. What do you mean you all know? We don't all know." He's like, "No, we all know." And so he's like, "I need help training for volleyball. Can you please help me?" He's like, "No, but I know someone who can because she simps for me." And so he asks,
The
is her
awareness
name
he
Mika?
has.
Is her name Mika?
Uh,
Yeah, I think it. Yeah, it's Mika. Look at me. I remembered without looking it up. He asked this girl Mika basically to come and help her with volleyball because she used to play volleyball in middle school and stuff. She's like, "Why me?" He's like, "Because I'm here and I asked you." And she's like, "Okay, that's good enough." And so they start teaching her volleyball and how to play and this and that. And you have this like arc for Mika where she's just like, it's unfair that this girl doesn't have to try for anything. I had to try to look beautiful because I was fat in middle school. Yeah, I had to play volleyball and no one liked me and this and this. But she just doesn't know her situation is the main story of this episode. And so eventually you get to the point where, she comes to accept how hard she's actually trying, basically meets me. And then the day finally comes with a sports festival, and they're talking to each other right beforehand. And they're basically saying, like, they have a bit of a heart-to-heart, where she's like, I've been, like, mean to you and, like, toxic the whole time, right? And she's like, well, you've never lied to me. You've been honest and forthcoming about everything. Yeah, you've come off a little harsh, but, like, that's just who you are. And that's okay. And then the rest of the friends join in and help train the last couple of volleyball days. And so they're doing their hair for the day, and we get a nice braid from our lesbian couple, and it's very cute. And then Mika goes, no, you're not putting your hair in a top knot here, and puts like little pins on the side and bangs out of her eyes. And then they go into gamer focus mode where a couple of our girls are playing for the volleyball team, and they're doing pretty well. And they're like, okay, we got a break. Let's go watch the boys basketball team. And she's like, well, I made these pickled vegetables we can have homemade. And so they all eat some, and they're like, oh, these are pretty good, She's like, I want to go give some to the boy, to our boy Shima. And then you have like the entire crowd of like every year's girls going, oh my god, he's so hot. He's a Shima-kun. Oh my god, he's so cute. And Mizumi gets a little intimidated by that, and she backs out. She's like, you know what? Not right now. I can't do that right now. And everyone just goes, she can read a room. It's a miracle.
She can only read very overcrowded rooms.
very overcrowded rooms about her boy. But then they end up keep going. They face this team of like a first year volleyball player who's fucking jump serving into her, and they end up losing, but they get second place. And so they go watch the boys basketball final. And they go cheer on Shima again, and then she gives them some of the vegetables at the end, and it's a very, very cute, very well rounded episode. It takes place basically in like one holistic arc as opposed to like a couple different things going on. But I thought it was really, really just a really solid episode, top to bottom.
It's an odd. I mean, this show's thing seems to predominantly be cut an episode in two in a certain way. Last week it really was two completely different things kind of going on. This week they're focusing on two characters over the course of one event, because the first part of the episode is very much focused on Mika. Something I really like about this is that Mika doesn't necessarily get to the point where Mika doesn't really get to the point where she's like, Mitsumi, you're working so hard. I actually do appreciate what you get. It's that Mitsumi gets to the point where she goes, I understand that you're helping me, and I do really appreciate that, and you can see I'm working hard here, and it's good, right? She doesn't know anything that Mitsumi does in her free time. She still does, like, when the point where Mika goes, she doesn't know how much I've had to work to get to where I am. The thing I really like about the show is that Mika still doesn't understand, even at the end of this episode, how much Mitsumi's put in her own life to get to where she is. It's like, it just, people have different circumstances. The bit with the shoes, I adore in this episode.
Oh yeah.
Her staring at the names of the shoes. Mika stares at the two guys and remembers their names because she wants to get revenge on them. And we get a really out of place gag about her having a hit list. Which is
was not out of place at all.
No, it fits her absolutely. It's out of place for the show, is more what I mean. It was not a cutaway gag I was expecting. And then we get the bit where Mitsumi remembers the name of the upperclassman because he's helped them. And just that self-reflection in Mika, I think, is really cool to get. I like having a troubled character who is kind of like a not fully good not fully good or friendly person to our main character who has a reasonable, compelling reason to act and be the way they are. It's a misunderstanding of it's just clicks at play. It's all it is. You know, if she had stumbled into a group like Mitsumi did, it would be completely different for her. But it's not. And overall, I really enjoyed that dynamic of the episode. I didn't really like the second dynamic as well of the second half, where it's basically them going, Hey Mika, you like Shima, don't you? And she goes, No, I don't. I couldn't. Why? What? How? I couldn't love him. And they're like, oh, that's boring. You're boring. But then they also have the conversation where they go, isn't it crazy how Mitsumi, like, they're very clearly acting like people who are head over heels for each other. What a great match. But she very much is still in a friend position. She has not made the mental movement. And I like seeing the other characters in this show talk about it. The acknowledgement of a character dynamic, it being there, it being talked about, I really enjoy. And I thought just getting more time with her general cast was wonderful. We do have a small bit in this episode where Murashige does Makoto's hair. And you know what, guys? I didn't see it beforehand. I see it now. Very gay. The two of them very good together. I agree. It's
very
right there.
Gay.
They're very gay.
Perfect.
She does her hair.
They're
very
so
gay.
good.
There's almost a point where everybody in that room is looking at them like, wow, they're so gay. Even
that gay.
there was no comments, no acknowledgement of it, but that's what the room reads in that moment.
As it should.
So I wasn't the biggest fan of this episode. I just I'm not the biggest fan of Mika. I know she's supposed to be like a semi-antagonistic character.
She's a foil.
But I just don't really like her anyways, like even recognizing that.
Yeah, and I think that's totally fine.
Yeah. And then I don't know, I just wasn't a fan of I thought the training stuff was fine. It wasn't great, it wasn't the worst.
It's the Kaguya arc.
Yeah.
The Kaguya episode, but without all the Kaguya humor.
But without the Kaguya humor, so it's just...
How far did you get into Toradora?
I got exactly halfway through.
Did you meet Amy in that show? The blue-haired one? That was like the transfer.
Yeah, I met
Did
Amy.
Did you hate her?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
They're very similar characters. That's why
Yeah.
I feel like I know this connection.
So I wasn't the biggest fan of the second half of this episode. It's also, I'm pretty sure Murashige and I forget
Makoto.
her name, but the Makoto, yeah, I'm pretty sure they're my favorite characters, and there just was not a lot of them in this episode.
Understandable.
Another element I really liked for me was the part about Shima where Mitsumi makes the realization where she's like, I thought I think Mika makes the realization about the two of them where she basically said Mitsumi probably thinks that Shima makes her happy and that everything about and that she's like a kind of an annoyance to Shima, but she probably doesn't realize that whatever he's lacking in his life that brings him happiness, she has it. And what I really like about that realization is, again, it's the characters recognizing what's going on in the show in front of them, but it's also leaving it's very clear of her going, I don't know what it is. I have no idea. I don't know what the attraction is between the two of them. And we really don't either, besides the fact they're just the goodest of characters. The goodest of boys and girls. Also, the volleyball shot goes hard for no reason this episode.
Why did it turn into an IQ scene?
Thanks, PA. Yeah. Thanks, PA Works.
Right? That was one thing for me too, was like Shima wasn't really in this episode a whole lot. Like, in the grand scheme of things. And I love him, and I was sad about that.
Yeah. I do enjoy the bit. I do enjoy the bit where he backs off, passes the ball, his bro makes the shot, and all the girls are like, "God, he's still so hot because he could have took that shot." It's like the poor guy can't wait. He just wants women to look at him.
He just comes up like
goes back to Mashal panel. Goes back to the Mashal screenshot. Guys like you are why we have an aging population and lower birth rate.
Such a banger.
Something I'll say about Mika and why I think I like her is because I have a very strong connection to Stars Align, which neither of you have seen, but Michael has. And if he was here, he would probably agree with me. She has a very similar character to a character from Stars Align. That I imagine if the character from Stars Align got additional progression, they would wind up being Mika. And I enjoyed that character's dynamic in that show, and I'm enjoying Mika's here.
I will say I did enjoy like Mika's backstory. I liked getting that. That made me do like enjoy her a bit more. Seeing that like how hard she worked for herself.
Yeah, there's a lot of, like, again, it's for somebody, not for me, but for somebody, that moment's going to hit very close to home. Because that's a thing people go through. Absolutely. And it's nice to, in a way, humanize a Mean Girl-esque character.
Yeah, I think it's important to build that early for like the character development. So we'll see.
Yeah, I really like this
episode. I personally like Mika too.
To me, I think the other reason the episode stands out and in my opinion was the best one this week is that I think the way it cut and weaved between what's going on now and like the character's thought processes, like the episode just flowed so well, and I enjoyed every minute of it watching it. I really did. So it definitely stood out to me today as like the show for me. Let's talk about My Home Hero. We go in some directions this episode, as we always do. I think this show might physically be impossible to predict on where it's going. We open with the fact that I don't think we talked about it all at the end of last episode, which is last episode ends with a gunshot and a blank screen. Maybe we did mention it. I don't remember. It wasn't a big enough detail to do. As I'm sure none of us are surprised, neither of our two characters got killed. We then go through an excruciating bullet removal and skin stapling.
Yeah.
No.
Didn't need that. Ow.
And for some reason, after that scene, the opening just hits a little better where it's just this nice little like song about family and love and what you
It's
would
like,
do.
oh, okay, I got a breather.
Right,
Okay.
the themes of this show, good. And then we get back into it. Tetsuo has been roped into doing more things for the gang, which none of us are surprised by, under more additional surveillance. Wife looks at him and goes, "Hey, what's going on? No update in a bit. You keep getting home late." And he tries to lie, and she goes, "Don't do that. We talked about this. If you're trying to protect the family, your family too. You gotta protect yourself. What are we doing?" And Tetsuo goes, "Okay, so remember that guy?" And she goes, "Of course I do." And we get a flashback to their college days? It's gotta be?
So?
Where they were in like a club room where they were all a part of like a movie acting club, and we get this guy who's acting, whose definition of acting is just flipping between character and persona, even if it does not make any fucking sense. He also, correct me if you guys didn't get this feeling, massive crush on Tetsuo's wife.
Oh yeah,
like
absolutely.
To a point that there is a scene that made me very uncomfortable in this episode that we will talk about because where I thought we'll talk about it.
I got real worried for a bit.
I enjoy Tetsuo in this moment because Tetsuo in this flashback because he does not give two shits about this man. He's like, "I am busy writing my script," and the guy's just like, "You should make sure I'm the star and I have a bigger role." And Tetsuo's like, "What does your acceptance letter say?" And it's a rejection for the third year in a row. And Tetsuo's kind of like, "Good luck next year, bro."
Tetsuo's a savage.
Yeah, Tetsuo's kind of a Giga Chad in this flashback, and I
Also,
want to know what happened.
Also, her parents are like fucking omega loaded apparently, because like they're like, we can blackmail him because his family's even rich or whatever, something like that. Did you guys catch that as well?
Yeah, and there's a couple of things that are really
him saying he murdered the guy, like.
Yeah, there are a couple of things here that are interesting. What I think that draws back to is they do set up Tetsuo blackmailing him of having killed a man, which, come on, that is the worst blackmail video I've ever. He very clearly is being. Someone could watch that video someone could watch that video and go, not only is he being held at gunpoint, he is reading off a cue card.
Yes.
But very funny they make him read off cue cards. We
smile and make a peace sign.
We then get a bit with Tetsuo again. This episode does a lot of wonders for Tetsuo as a person. I really enjoy him in this episode, where he starts to try to get away to crack the passcode on Nobito's phone, and so they do a little bit where the bar girl who is dating Nobito passes by in disguise and drops the password cracker into his or the SD card into his bag, and they're both kind of like, "Ooh, it's like playing spy," and it's like it's just a nice little moment before shit's about to hit the fan again. And then Tetsuo just has this good ass moment where he's like, "Hey, I know you're like keeping an eye on me. It makes sense if you just drive me to where I want to go, right?" And the guy's like, "Shit, fuck, get in the car." And then Tetsuo plays him like a fucking fiddle and gets him with like this funny work story and gets him just to chat like one really good line of, "You're gonna take me here. I'm not a cab driver." Then proceeds to treat him like a cab driver by sharing a funny story and getting him to talk about his own life because he's trying to figure out what Nobito's dog's name is.
We all know it's his daughter's name, right?
That's what I thought. I think that's the twist, right? We obviously have like a real answer it could be, and when he punches that in, it's going to be wrong, and then it's gonna have to be his daughter's name, right? Because like it's not like family's first pet. That isn't the clue. It's my pet, and it very much feels like it's gonna be his daughter's name. Yeah. I'm glad we all picked up on that and felt that in the room. Speaking of things we felt in the room, let's talk about his wife. She gets in the car with the guy, and we have a conversation about how much it's gonna cost, and boy, can you just feel the scum off this man as he starts naming reasons for why he has to increase the charge of this service. To which then he asks her, "Are you happy?" Which has never not been asked by a guy who is about to proposition you for sex in return for payment. And I'm not saying that I think she would do it, but I'm saying I think these two would do anything to protect their daughter, and that scares me.
Also, the fact that this man just looks like he makes porn.
Yeah. This
like,
feels
he just gives off the vibe of like he like I can see this man on the wall of a really gross, shitty Californian basement.
yeah. It's interesting that the show doesn't jump on that because I really thought we were. I can't express how much that was
This
like.
show, I thought so much it's gonna be like,
I
all right, here we go again.
really thought we were gonna do it. And the fact that we didn't makes me think we're holding it for later.
Yeah.
It's a
No, I
surprise
think he's
tool
gonna
we'll
get
use for
himself involved
later.
into something fucking stupid.
Well, we have a couple of things. We have a
Himself
couple of things that were set in motion this episode. One, she then, bless her heart, then goes, "Hey, remember all that money you borrowed from us back in school?" And he goes, "Fuck, shit, fuck. Okay, hold on." And she's like, "What if we calculate interest?" And he goes, "Okay, no. And again, he brings up that he expects them to be loaded, and based on how they live, they clearly have some money. They have a very nice suburban house. You know, they raised a daughter, put her through school, to some degree. But he works just a regular job, and she seems to be a homemaker. I don't want to make an assumption about her in that regard, but it seems to be the implication so far.
Mm.
And when he asks her, "Are you happy?" we get this flashback that I think kind of gets us to the root of why don't they have so much money, but everyone thinks they do. Which is the fact that it seems like they are disconnected from their parents. Because we get a bit where clearly it is Tetsuo having asked, you know, her father for her hand in marriage, and then he got the shit kicked out of him, to which he goes, "We should just marry anyway, because he's a Giga Chad. He's just
fuck
such..."
that guy. Let's get married anyways.
I'm
I
gonna
love
do
that.
anyway.
He really does feel like a guy who really mellowed once he had his daughter, and was like,
Yeah.
"I now must be the guy who works a 9 to 5 and stops kind of butting heads with people or not giving a shit."
Mhm.
Nobuto then goes on his little. Well, they filmed this scene. This is the important thing. I said Nobuto. I meant Tetsuo. They filmed the scene for Nobuto, where they have the guy just wear a wig in the outfit. Something is clearly gonna get screwed over here, where this isn't going to work. He's gonna have
Right.
some dumb shit that gives it away, or the height's not gonna match because they didn't think that small detail through. I also am not entirely sure what they're trying to prove, besides the fact that he got picked up on a random dash cam. I don't know how you prove. I don't know how you make this work the way you want to.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how you get this into everybody's hands without it being suspicious. But I do like that they thought through the, please don't let him call me. If he calls me, this plan goes to shit. Like, whoever wrote this really did think through a lot of the baselines of what you have to write a good thriller mystery, and I like that about this episode. We then get Tetsuo at the bar.
Oh.
And the moment they do the wide shot of the bar, I see him. And I know what's coming. And I'm like, please, Tetsuo, do not immediately open your mouth. And thankfully, Nobuto's dad is here and does all the talking for Tetsuo. They get to talk about if they're happy in life. And he talks about how he would do anything to avenge his son if he lost him. He also then mentions a family dog. Tetsuo then only realizes what's going on after they've already left. And that is where the episode ends. Also upon Nobuto's dad realizing, he definitely gave me a fake name. And the fake name Tetsuo gave him was the name of his buddy who they did the filming with, which definitely won't have major repercussions. I do appreciate that even in that moment, he does go, he does indeed go, "Oh shit, I kinda just let that slip. It was the name that came to my mind. God fuck, that was bad."
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Also, he just like revealed the name of one of their gangsters basically to them, and was like, "Wait, I just gave him the name of one of his own people. He shouldn't know that I know that
Well,
name."
no. The name he gives is his buddy who's doing the filming. He doesn't give
Oh,
the name of
that's what he
someone from the
does?
organization.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
That,
I
so
thought that was
the
very confused
whole...
with the names because he always
Yeah.
like barely says them. I thought it was the guy that he's been like working with.
No.
No,
Yeah, no.
that's Kyoichi.
Which, to be fair, that fucked me up when he first went to his wife. He's like, "You know who we can trust? This guy." I'm like, "Are you gonna go to the guy in the mafia you've been working?" Because I forgot names too. And I'm like, oh, okay, it's a college friend. Yeah, but he gives him the college friend's name, which again, obviously contradicts what we just had, which is don't give them any link to him or this plan goes awry. Obviously. But again, it's not that he did it and it's not like, oh, he's so dumb he gave he used the name as an alias because he's stupid. It's he was put on the spot to a guy he had no reason to think mattered, but he's so used. It goes back to last week or 2 weeks ago where he talked about, I'm so used to lying, things start to feel bad now, which also builds on the, once you start telling lots of lies, you will lie about things that may not even matter in the moment. Obviously, he doesn't want to be traced to the bar.
He feels more bad about telling the truth than he does about saying lies right now.
Yeah.
Which is wild.
I actually really liked this episode. It's just, the show has competition, obviously, and it's not like...
Don't get me wrong, anything like 8 or above is still a good show.
I enjoy this show. It sucks to me that it's still kind of towards the bottom for me, because I'm down to keep watching this thing, but at some point it's gonna have to go. Like, it just doesn't hit the same way other stuff above it does.
I don't absolutely hate any of our 10 shows. Like, I would watch them if there was a season where we had another shitty show to get rid of.
Even though I have a show at the bottom, I agree. I would probably be fine watching it, but we're gonna talk in a minute. I saw what the next episode's name is. I don't need to watch the next episode.
For which one? Marginal?
Yeah.
What is it this time?
What is the name of that episode?
You didn't like Sexy Santa Sex?
No, that was this week.
Boobs for a Marmot.
Boobs for Marmots.
Air
Something for
shark.
Yep. Boobs for Marmot.
Why?
I think I'm good. I think I know what we're getting next. We'll talk about it. Other thoughts on my
Sexy Santa Lights the Holy Night didn't do it for you?
We'll talk about this episode.
But no, I thought My Home Hero, again, the mystery is still interesting to me, but it just feels like it's going such down a rabbit hole that, it's not going to end well.
No.
He's already so deep with the Mafia, unless he kills literally everybody, they're so fucked.
But it really is I'm interested, even if the show goes, I might stick with it, because I'm kind of interested to see what the show decides its end game plan is. I think that's more captivating to me than any of the actual. I want to know is this just going to be a tragedy, bloodshed end, or is this going to be like an eye for an eye between dads? Is this going to be that what do they have to give up to get out of this, or who do they have again, really hoping certain lines aren't crossed, because this episode gave me a little bit of a spook, and I would not like to have that come to fruition, because I've watched shows where they do things, and you know what? They make me uncomfortable sometimes. On the bright side, this is a show that's been very good about not showing too much. So if anything like that were to come up, I don't think we would have a full-on sex scene in front of our eyes. But yeah. Hey, John. I have this show at 2 for a reason. Let's talk about this episode.
Insomniacs?
Yeah.
It's time? Alright, so Insomniacs this week, they're on their beach vacation, and of course, our boy has not slept, at all. He tried to sleep beforehand. He couldn't sleep at all. He goes out there, and on the train right there, he's got his goggles, he's got his earplugs, but he just can't sleep. He just can't sleep. Everyone's playing games and stuff and having a good time. He's like, just let me fucking sleep, bro. Every time he tries to sleep, his fucking group members just keep waking him up hey, Nishimura, come do this thing. Hey,
dude,
at
this point, he doesn't even need the insomnia.
Yeah, he just has a fucking annoyance. And so they go make curry, and first off, the girls' tent just has a part that is just not somewhere it's supposed to be. I'm like, that's just a bad thing waiting to happen. I know how this goes. Very simple. You read the instructions. It says A1 to B1, and you just do that. You just do what it says, and it works out.
It'll be fine.
But meanwhile, our boy knows how to cook and stuff, sets it all up, makes it look pretty, and the other boys take all the credit to flirt with the girls. Then at night, while all the boys are partying and shit, he's just trying to sleep, and they finally just crash. And he's like, "Well, can't sleep. It sucks." Wake up, have to go for a morning jog. Our douchebag teacher's like, should have slept, idiot. You're clearly not having issues with it. You just need to be better.
He's such the worst.
He's the worst.
And so they go for a jog, and then they're outside during the day making sandcastles, and it starts to pour. And it's like, oh yeah, well, how could we have foreseen this forecast that we knew about from the last week? And the teachers, being the assholes they are, make the kids go back out and camp in the rain while they sit inside and drink. And so all the adults are drinking, and so he wakes up and goes, "Fuck, the rain stopped. Well, we had a deal. Let's go to the beach. Fuck it." And sure enough, our main girl's there for him. They go out and they dance in the water a bit. It's very pretty. There's some very amazing cinematic shots. They set up the camera to take some pictures of like the sunrise and this and that. And they fall asleep by the waves, and they scream at the water. 'Cause that's what you do. For me, I'm like, are they just gonna walk into the ocean? But like, basically, it's just a very big like, very cinematic experience of like a bunch of really cool shots of like the reflection in the water, reflecting the sky and stuff. 'Cause it's a remote area. And we get a shot of like the teachers who was on guard, basically being just passed out drunk because the goated teacher drank them under the table. Because one of the teachers goes, "That's water, right?" She's like, "Yep, water," and turns it away. And you just drink what is likely like soju or sake or something. And so they kind of set up a little blanket on the beach, and they're like, "Hey, laying next to you and hearing your heartbeat was really nice to fall asleep to. It was the most comfortable I've ever been." "Wait, you too? You too?" And so they do that, and it's very cute. And he like is like trying not to breathe because he doesn't want to disturb the peace. It's very wholesome, very cute. And they end up falling asleep on the beach in the morning, and they're like, "Oh shit, it's sunrise. We gotta get going. We're gonna get in trouble." So he wakes her up, and they start running. He goes, "Wait a minute, wait. Can I take a picture? Come on, we gotta go." Like, but it's very wholesome, very cute. Except for them to get scolded, but it's a good time.
Okay. So I have one curse thing to say that won't even impact John at all. But I do have a curse thing I need to bring up. And then, oh no, it's not this show that the curse thing's in. We'll talk about that later. I forgot. That's in Clueless. Good. I'm glad I didn't say it yet. It's in Clueless. We'll get back to that. So I have the one thing I'm gonna say then. The end of this, when the ED hit for this episode, I had a realization. This show, now that it's really in on kind of like its romance building with these two, now very much reminds me of a lot of older romances I started watching when I first got into anime. Like, it has very similar feelings to Hyoka. It has very similar feelings to Toradora. It has very similar, like, there are a lot of things that I can be like, it has that same feeling we're watching it. I'm like, this is a really good, I'm invested in the character romance, which doesn't always happen nowadays. And again, this episode's just beautiful.
It's
like,
so
you can't,
pretty, dude.
I feel the same way about this episode as I did that one episode of Arena where it looked really fucking pretty, where they did the skate on the ice. Like, I'm a sucker for these kind of things. And not to go too much into it, as someone who is no longer in my previous relationship, but one of my favorite parts of my previous relationships being just holding my significant other. Yeah, I get it. I'm good. Don't worry about me. I'm fine. Yep.
Yeah.
I like the show. It's really good. It was really good this week. I also really like the little bit we get of like her friends again. Like they're an interesting small side group that have personalities that are quirky and enjoyable in the same way. All I could think about when her and her tent mate are going to bed, and her tent mate's just like, "I'm the type of person who can't sleep without hugging something." I was like, "Yeah, so yeah, she can't either." It's great.
I heard that.
She needs her boy.
Like, oh, hi.
A really interesting difference is that he doesn't take any medicine. She does. To try to fall asleep.
Let's go drugs.
Another thing that I also really liked, brain need to work. She has a line that kills me this episode, which was like, sometimes the reason I can't fall asleep is because of anxiety, and like that whole thing she says there, woof.
Yeah,
Woof,
felt
woof,
that.
woof, woof. Again, not an insomniac, but I've had nights.
The show hits on a very specific level. Also, I was laughing at the bit where the one like muscle friend, she's like, "Oh yeah, you just need to blow on the fire a bit and it'll get it going." And she wraps up the newspaper, and I saw this happening. I was just like, "It's gonna blow everywhere."
Gonna blow out,
It
yeah.
did.
All the ashes.
Yep. I was like, I have been here before. I have seen this happen.
It's just
gonna
gotta be long,
great.
consistent, nice amount. You don't have to like huff and puff.
Yep.
I've been a fire from scratch before. It's fun. When you're kids. When you're an adult, you're like, let me just get some newspaper and a lighter. Much easier.
I'm an Eagle Scout.
I just went camping a lot as a kid. Like camping, like camper camping, because we're civilized people. But
I lived in a tent for a summer.
Coward.
Fuck that.
Coward, John.
Fuck that. We built houses to avoid this shit.
Now,
I intend to use them.
Now you sound exactly like that one girl.
That's literally what I said. I'm like, that's me. Yes, agreed.
It flooded 3 times when I was living in that tent. God.
Sorry, I'm glad that you and I are both transfixed on the Dialga dancing on the screen behind you.
It's an RP game video, and it's playing through
Black and
I
white.
think it's either black and white or Heart Gold Soul Silver, and
it's
the
black and
gift
white.
shiny. It's the gift shiny dial that you get in that game that he's just using to fly, basically, for his Nuzlocke, because it's funny.
I can tell you it's black and white because I've occasionally caught a glance, and I also saw the opening.
Right.
I also saw the opening scene play, and that's the black and white.
Because,
But neither mind.
Because he had to do that. The thing he
Insomniac.
chose dial because it's funny.
Back to Insomniac.
It's very cute, very wholesome. I enjoy Insomniacs. It makes my heart go doki doki.
It reminds me a lot of just like falling asleep next to this person, and it's just like the sound of a heartbeat is just like so like such a vibe, you know. It's just the best way to put it.
Hey, I'm Mason.
Hey, I'm me.
Let's talk about Marginal Service.
Okay, so this week it's Lyra's episode.
Can we run through a couple of things quick?
So it's not my turn to talk.
1984. Edward Snowden.
Yeah.
What the fuck is this episode?
I didn't catch the Edward Snowden bit. Oh my god.
It absolutely is supposed to be.
It is though. Holy shit. How did I
name's
not realize
fucking
that?
Eddie Snow.
Eddie Snow.
And
God,
he was
it
in
is.
Russia. He was
That's
in Russia.
incredible. That's so good. Okay, no, never mind. Changing my power ranking. That changes it back.
I will talk. I will go in lengths about. Dude, there's a lot, unfortunately, to talk about in this episode.
Okay.
You're correct, Mason. Lyra episode. My apologies.
So it's okay. So
Idiot
Lyra episode. So this week we start off and our head of the Marginal Service is a goddamn idiot. And he sees an email that is titled Yippee-ki-yay, and everyone goes, "Don't open it." And he goes, "Ah, shit, I opened it." And immediately they get hacked.
Can we talk about how fucking Brian gets a dick pic?
Brian gets a dick
An
pic
almost dick pic of fucking...
of our muscle man.
What's his name? Zephyr? I don't even fucking remember.
I don't know. But yeah, he gets an almost dick pic to start off his morning from our muscle man.
Brian got fucking harassed there. Everyone got a fucking Brian picture response. Like,
yeah, no, this week
Which
was
they
just Brian
explained.
Night
Which
Ranger.
they explained. I can't believe it all makes sense in the grand scheme of things.
I appreciate that the show explained it. So I gotta have to like lean back for this one. So yeah, they immediately get hacked, and then Lyra starts unhacking it and trying to block the thing, and our asshole cop just comes in and throws a fucking chair at it. And she goes, "You dumbass. I could have had this fixed in 3 seconds, and instead I can't stop it now." And he goes, "Well, suit up, I guess," and does not take any responsibility.
It's like, all right, guys, suit up. We have a job to do now. And it's like, no, we didn't. Like,
we didn't. We wouldn't have had to if you just let us do what we're good at. So it turns out that this knocks out the power to their base. And a lot of Borderlanders that are bad are on the same power grid. So their doors are unlocked at the moment. So they have to just... half the team has to go down into the prison and just hold them there. And the other half goes to try and find out who did this. So Lyra immediately realizes this is her ex-boyfriend, Eddie Snow. Definitely not Edward Snowden, we promise. And what he is he is a former Russian that used to work for the KGB. We get hints that Lyra was a Russian sparrow, which I did like that bit.
Yeah.
Weirdly enough. That's cool.
It's cool to have, like, that little, like, oh, it could be all these wacky, crazy things, and one of them very much has a lot more credibility by the end of the episode.
Yeah. So, as they're going to the place that they traced where this could come from, they're driving and they are getting fucked over because they are fucking with the traffic lights. And I appreciate this because they make a lot of Die Hard references in this episode. And
It's
this is literally
a Christmas episode.
That was the one redeeming thing, is the Die Hard references.
So
I'll give
this
it that.
literally just the plot to Live Free or Die Hard, I believe, which is the fourth one. And I really enjoy that movie, weirdly enough. And it's just the plot of that movie, and it killed me.
Mm-hmm.
So they get to this place, and they're walking in, and Brian smashes his face on the glass door.
What about that?
Really funny. Before Lyra looks at the camera. Oh, I'm sorry. Before we get to this point, they also trace it to
church.
What turns out to be the people who keep tabs on the Marginal Service and get them their information, who are then immediately killed by turrets that are in this room for some reason. And then they're like, well, gotta go where this was traced from now.
Mm-hmm.
And so then they get to this building. Brian smashes his face into the glass door, and Lyra goes, "Hey, Eddie, let me up." And he's like, "How do I know you won't kill me?" And she takes her suit off and goes, "I'm unarmed, unless you consider a woman's body your weapon."
Mind you, she's now naked.
Yeah, she is just naked for the rest of this episode.
And you know what? Props to the show. Nice pair of balls you got on you.
Like, I respect it. I didn't like it.
Fucking animator sitting here going, "We can't do shit."
Okay, so we're just gonna darken the lower half. We're gonna have the screen reflection cover her.
Like, I appreciate the amount of work went into the censorship for this episode. Like, I respect them for that.
It did mean my screen caps were very limited, though.
Yeah. What did you use for screen cap this week, by the way?
It's a shot of Eddie. It's a shot of the. I just had to get the Eddie Snow name on the screen in case people weren't aware of it.
Yeah. So after this, she talks with him a bit, and he's like, "Hey, just the world's fucked. AI's fucked. We gotta bring the government down, man." And she's like, "You're a fucking idiot. I'm gonna shoot you now." And he's like, "I knew you had that gun there. You were hiding it with your hair." She's like, "Cool, anyways, shooting you now." And he's a hologram now. Which we get, she goes, "What?" And then we get commercial break, and then he is just suddenly a hologram now, as opposed to having a real body, which it looked like before, which also killed me. And then we get a whole talk of him being like, "Look," she's like, "How do I stop this? How do I stop this from happening?" And he's just like, "Just say you love me one more time. That's all I need." And she goes, "Okay. You know, I did miss you, and I did really enjoy the 3 years that we were together. But also, it's been 10 years, dude. Get over yourself. Fuck
Also, you left me."
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up. It is there. Let's talk about that afterwards. Yeah.
Also, there was one thing that bothered me in this point, and it was, she goes, "Yes, I know who this is who's doing this. It's my ex-boyfriend, Eddie Snow." And they're like, "Okay." She's like, "He's a Borderlander." And then they cut later, and she's like, "Yeah, I didn't know he was a Borderlander until Theodore told us 5 minutes ago.
I mean, yeah, that is him faxing the information to her, to them.
Yeah.
Is like...
But, like, it's the fact that she said he's a Borderlander, and then they explain this, and it's like, she shouldn't know that he's a Borderlander when she says that.
There are also a couple of other things. We'll get into the couple of the inconsistencies, because I think it builds into maybe why the show needs to go. But
yeah.
What does she do then, Mason, after she says fuck no?
Yeah, fuck no, and she rips the chair out, throws it into like, I think it's a gas cylinder or something, and blows the place up for some reason.
Naked women don't look at explosions.
Yeah, and then at this point, Brian and our other boy finally get up here, and they're like, what the fuck happened? She's just like, marginal explosion, and walks away as the room's just exploding. And then they get back, and everything's all good.
Except that there were ties between Eddie Snowden and Rubber Suit.
And then we get a cut to Rubber Suit in some fucking island I don't remember, and he's just like, man, I hope they find me sometime soon.
It's gonna be so much fun when they get here.
I was losing my mind reading that. So it's just like, man,
here's the thing about Marginal Service. All of this is very funny. Recounting it brings me lots of laughter. Did not laugh nearly as much in the actual show. This is one of those shows
that if we watched as like a group of people, we would have fucking been cackling at how stupid it was.
Because we would be pointing out, we'd be pointing out everything, and we would all be dying about it. And it would also be one of those things where it's like, this show is one of those shows that's really fun to talk about on the podcast, but isn't necessarily fun or enjoyable to watch.
Yeah.
Couple of things. A part that I should not have laughed at, but very much did get me, and I really thought the show was going to make a joke about it. She's like, yeah, the relationship started getting difficult. You know, he had a disease that prevented him from moving. One day I got up and I came back and he was gone. Where the fuck did he go? How did he do it? Like, a miracle happened in your apartment.
Separated.
I really thought Brian or Zeno was gonna be a dick and be like, what did he do? Get up and walk away? I don't get it. But again, like, it brings up the point that John mentioned. Like, at the end of the episode, she doesn't look at him and go, no, you left me, by the way, asshole. She just goes, no. Like, she has justifiable reason not to...
But I'm over it, which is also fair.
There is no reason he should be going, show me you still love me. You walked out on her!
You fucking got nano snapped. What do you want?
Also, what kind of Borderlander was he? We don't know. He just...
Yeah.
He's just so smart, he transferred himself into computer data. That doesn't mean jack shit to me. What is he?
How did he get a disease? Like, what did he get, like, Borderlander cancer? Like,
my favorite thing, too, is the fact that he's shitting on AI this entire time while he is an AI.
Well, yeah, and that's, like, the very real self-aware, like, this show is very clearly picking a couple of topics and is going to riff on it, and riffs on them a lot. You know, even like the idea of the marginal service. This is why I'm giving this show a lot of good faith and being like, hey, I don't think this is them being like trying to be anti-immigrant. I think it really is them going, hey, the way we treat immigrants sometimes is fucked up and very counterproductive to what we say. Like, we say a lot of things, and the things we say don't match with what we do.
I hate that it took me until this week to realize Marginal Service was just the marginalized service.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know how it took me that long.
Oh yeah, there are lots of things that are like, they're all right here constantly. This whole point of another point that I do appreciate in some regards. Yeah, if you're gonna do a story about technological takeover, thank God some of those cars are self-driving cars. That's fucking hysterical, man. It's so fucking funny.
Yeah.
Where they're like, the cars are coming at us. Oh no.
And it's not really like a hard thing for them to get out of. It's just kind of an inconvenience at this point.
Yeah. Another thing. You know what? I really like these three. I already
Yeah,
liked
these three are
Brian.
great.
Lyra and the other dude are also really, they have good moments. Like these three have chemistry. It's almost like shoving our muscle heads into a corner was a great decision for the episode. Part of the reason I'm not too looking forward to other episodes is because we're really probably going back to those guys, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
Mhm.
Also, yeah, we have to point it out, because we point it out in every show that does this. The one female cast member. Episode main focus revolves around relationships and sex and nudity. Surprise! Like, it really is the only thing you can reach for at this point, I guess. And, like, I get it, like, female spy, female agent, you know, using nudity and you know, their good looks. I get that whole thing. But again, it didn't have to be her first major episode and the center of it.
I mean, so I will say I do, in a way, appreciate it just because it is leading into the whole Russian Sparrow thing.
Yeah.
But it's still like, really, guys? Really?
I mean, yeah, think about what she's done in the show. She's had a rodent in her tits a lot. She was used as a pure escort for Brian, which they then bring back up at the end of this episode as the reason why Brian was the one being maliciously targeted. Which I like that. I like that Eddie went, how do I get back at him? Well, I'm gonna send everybody embarrassing photos of him. I'm gonna send him an almost dick pic of one of his coworkers.
Yep.
The most muscular coworker I could think of.
Let's send all of his dick pics to all of his coworkers.
He got really close. He was doing some posing there in some of those phone photos. Yeah, I'm not... Like, I'm sure this show's gonna have a couple episodes where there's gonna be good bits like these, where, like, the references and parodies are on point, and, like, it is fairly enjoyable if you're catching them as you go. But I'm not ready for what is probably 3 or 5 episodes worth of just absolute misses that are probably bound to come. This is probably the peak for Marginal Service, and even then I could not bring myself to put it over any other show this week.
Yeah. No, I'll say this. Like, I know we had the 3-way tie last week, and I know people were wanting the show to go. I still think, based on the episodes from last week, I still think Blue Orchestra was probably the fine one to go. But also, like, I knew this show was going soon. I expected that.
Mhm.
So it's fine.
Hey, also, this episode, they're doing this thing where we open every episode with a Brian monologue about how the theme of the episode relates to his life, and then we did absolutely nothing with this week. So we got this really, like... We got, like, this... I guess it tied into the relationship theme, but we got, like, this completely arbitrary plot point of, I hate Santas, and I really thought we were gonna get a Santa Borderlander this episode, and I'm kind of disappointed I didn't get it.
Yeah, where was the Santas?
I thought we were really gonna go and
I
you know,
thought we were
double
gonna get
down.
Santa Claus from Chainsaw
I
Man.
thought we were really gonna double down on the Santa's an immigrant who should not come into our country to deliver gifts. I always think that bit's hilarious when we do it in media.
It's really funny.
It is. Unidentified aircraft flying through our military zone. Don't shoot it. That's Santa Claus.
Wait, don't shoot. It's not.
There is
It's not
there
Easter
is
Bunny.
also there is also a line that it honestly has a lot of, like, if you felt like reading into the show, a lot of depth to it. But the line from some of the Borderlanders who are in the jail who are like, it's Christmas, don't you? That us Borderlanders should still get to celebrate even if we're in prison. I'm like, okay, guys, that's a lot. You're throwing a lot of us to unpack. We're talking about incarceration. We're talking about it. Oof. Also, nothing comes from that entire... If the bit is supposed to be they send the one guy over to them to use later, that doesn't convey very well. It just seemed like he was constantly with them the whole episode, because he was just invisible. There's also the bit where Lyra goes to walk into the church and she's like, I'm a woman of faith, and just fucking sprays the cam. Her dialogue's great this episode.
She's funny. Like, I like her as a character.
I don't like how she's used as a character.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
Hey, guys.
Yeah.
I think it's just part of the show.
It's
Again,
my-
not a terrible show, but like not the one to keep.
It's my Clueless first friend. One, before we even get into it. That there drugstore. That there park. fucking had me dying this entire
That there-
episode.
That there was fucking hilarious.
That there park. That there drugstore. Feels like I'm in a fucking Earthbound game. So this week on My First Friends doing Michael Chubbs for him, and then next week I'll switch off for other people to do them. Akane is like, hey, I haven't seen him in a while after the whole family grave thing. That's sad. I was having a good time. I wish that would change. And then accidentally finds herself walking to his house. Whoops. At which point he also happens to be on the steps outside. And she's like, hey, can we talk? And then they walk all the way to a shrine. Kind of crazy. And they talk, and you know, he has a real moment where he's like, hey, yeah, I feel like an asshole because I called you the Grim Reaper and you just explained all this stuff about your mother and feeling like he explains everything we went through last week. Which, like, you know what? It's a show about kids. I understand being very blunt about it. And also conveying it to each other in a clear way. Appreciate that in some regards. And she kind of settles on, no, it's different when you call me the Grim Reaper than everybody else. It's fine. And then he forgets he was supposed to hang out with Tank Top Kun. And thus they go and celebrate a random festival together they stumble upon. They have some cool rings that are both very important for a later, very important in quotations for a bit that comes literally the next part, where they go to school, they run into the girl, and she's taken his ring somehow, and she's like, this ring doesn't fit her, she doesn't even deserve a toy ring. And he immediately goes, you're right, she's too good for a toy. God, this child's brain. I wish everybody around me thought like him. And then they go and they take photos. And that's the rest of the episode. And then the end of the episode, his sister's like, hey, have you considered the fact that Akane's an angel? And he goes, holy shit, she's an angel and a devil. Wah, she's an angel and the Grim Reaper. Crazy. He also bullies her about her cuteness a lot, and they hold hands a lot this episode. This episode is very lewd in that they hold hands all the time.
True.
Uncensored hand holding? Not in my good Christian anime.
Here's my cursed brain rot. Mason, there was a shot in this episode where they are walking, and there was a shot where there is a boat in the background. And I'm pretty sure it's this show and not Insomniac. It's one of the two, where there's a shot where there is a boat in the background as they're by like the coastline. And all I could think about was the scene from Another. Because it was framed in a very similar fashion, where you just see the boat go in the waves, and it's just, that's the only focus of the shot.
Oh no, Sean!
Again,
Why'd you?
I think it was this show. If it was that my favorite at first, like, was it Insomniacs? They were at the beach. By the way, didn't mention it. That beach scene from Insomniac, very much similar to the My Dress Up Darling beach scene. And how beautiful it look and what it does and just them splashing around. Both do very different things, but both very pretty in a recent romance-esque show that my brain was like, yeah, I remembered that. That was the only thing I could think of in that moment was that. I'll be real. I have this show pretty low. Just not a lot happens. It's just them. They're just kids. It's fine. I really liked last week. It's just not carrying the momentum quite the way I really wish it did. Her dad's a cool dad. The family's like that. Everything that's here is still here, and it's still fine, and I have no problems with it. It's just I'm enjoying a lot of her other slices of life more. And you know, Michael said it when he was on here. There is going to be a point where this show obviously goes because it's just a good little time. And I have lots of other sources of serotonin this season. So for me, this was kind of an episode. It was fine, whatever. Was how I really walked away from it.
I thought, yeah, like, it's a fine episode. There's a lot of good things. It's very adorable. I just don't think it's the best, like, reminds me of. I think it's very, very cute for, like, this, you know, the kids being kids kind of style. He's just the right amount of stupid, innocent kid that you're like, he's dumb, innocent kid, but I like this kid. He mean good.
It does continue to reinforce.
I thought the ring bit was really good.
The ring bit was good. I saw it
You're
coming, but the
right.
rain bit was good.
She's like, you couldn't give her a ring. He's like, you're right. A cheap imitation is so not worth her. Good point.
It's the cat. It's the cat bit, but again with the rings. That's the only thing for me where it's like, yeah, we've done this bit, but with a different thing. It's fine. The part that I really liked out of it was the sorry, Akane, I can't give you a real ring. I'm just a child. The show is very cute. It's very adorable. Sorry, my brain's just thinking of the scene where he walks up to her and goes, "Hey, can I tickle you?" And instead of the scene playing out the way it does, all I imagine is him walking up going, "Hey, can I tickle you?" And then immediately going, "Sorry, that was a weird thing to say."
He's such a good boy. We should protect this boy at all costs.
Yeah, this again makes me very much hope or wish that the manga for this or its original source material, whatever, eventually gets to them being older. I know Takagi does, I believe. Like Takagi's more recent stuff is like them as there's like a whole entire arc of them as adults with a kid, and that's cute as fuck. And I would love something like that with these two where they get older. Mason, thoughts?
I like that show. I thought it was really good this week. I just thought it was really cute, and I appreciate that the bit from last week still was talked about this week.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't just kind of drop it. Like, I expected us to kind of drop it, and we didn't, and I appreciate that.
They're also,
yeah.
I mean, you could maybe call this a critique, but I would argue it's a show. You should do this. They're very emotionally intelligent kids, and I enjoy that about them. Akane makes a lot of sense. I think you could argue Akane should always be this emotionally intelligent. The fact that it takes him until the grave conversation for stuff to hit him, I think is really good writing. But like the fact that they are both able to recognize things about each other just through their interaction is, I think, very, very enjoyable. The fact that Akane's like, oh, he was crying because he felt sad for me. I didn't realize that in the moment. I just thought he started crying, which is kind of funny. I don't know what her takeaway was from that interaction. But I'm glad they address it.
Yeah. The show does a lot of really good things with these characters, which is really nice. And like it actually just like I said, it takes the things that you're like, I don't know about that, and just like immediately goes, no, we address it here. It's fine. It's good. No plot holes here. They're just kids being kids. Can we talk about the fact that they take different pictures and tank top guys just like pictures of tank top, picture of tank top. I won't lie, that one got me a little bit. I was like, it's a tank top.
I think the reason it doesn't get me is because I'm like, I know where we're going. I understand the bit. We're running it through. What is he gonna want to take a photo of? A tank top. We've been down here before.
It was funny.
This isn't one of those times where I'm like, oh, the bit's here. It's like, no, I know the bit. It's an enjoyable bit. Let it run its course. It's a fine show. Hey, let's talk about. Yeah, Mason said it. Man, this show.
Man.
Dead Mount Death Play. So first we pick right back off. Yeah, I forgot we had this somehow. I was fully ready to be at Yamada-Kun and end the podcast, but nope, we gotta go through what might be the episode that probably does the most for any show that it's done. And takes the show in a lot of in directions that both make sense but also are very interesting. Firstly, before we get to all of that, Lemmings. He's here to fuck shit up. They do that. We get a really cool rad fight scene. Coming from Geek Toys, this looks really good. The studio the studio notoriously hasn't been like too great in terms of looking the way it does all the time. Lots of CGI in some previous works. Some stuff just didn't look as clean. The fight for Lemmings, all the action here looked incredible. Really cool. Lots of work with the bone here. That's also really cool, of using the bone in really cool ways. At some point, Lemmings grabs Misaki and is like, and whispers something to her, and she's like, oh, no, I can't tell you, that's a secret. And then he gets ready to beat the shit out of Polka. She's like, okay, wait, let me tell you this. And we don't get to know, and I like when shows do that. I'm excited to see what that is in the long run. There's a point in this episode where one of the two cops goes and breaks a bottle over his knee and then shoves the shard into Lemmings. That scene's dope. We also get some flashbacks to Polka, the corpse god, to him having a teacher who has a really sick-ass design. And we get like a conversation where he's like, "Sorry, Teach, I'm a big fucking idiot. But I am doing what you told me to do, which is to protect." Really good line of, doesn't matter if you know a person for a second, for a minute, for an hour, for a month, for a year, however long. Just, if they've been good to you, be good to them. What a good lesson. What a good boy Polka is. Turning off the lights fully, also really cool. The ghost effect around Lemmings, all of it's just incredible. Lemmings goes back to the corporation he works for. Maybe just a dude he was hired by for this particular case, who shares some information. One being that Polka is alive, and then we see a photo on the desk that very clearly has him, some people who look a lot like him, and Polka in the background. Interesting.
Mhm.
And then we get to Polka and the crew figuring out how they're gonna make money, because Polka needs to start a business. They run through some ideas. We elaborate more on the having spirits possess things, in which point he shoves a random spirit from the complex into a pen, who's a business whiz. And they come up with the idea to do the thing that makes the most sense, and I'm so glad the show did it, fortune telling. And I'm happy they did both parts of this, which is both, hey, we can have our tech guy look up people and give the information to Polka, and Polka can just fucking talk to their dead relatives and figure out things. We get this really odd bit of a widowed wife whose husband gives coded information to tell her that there is a code to a safe on one of their pets' graves. This scene is goofy as fuck, and I love it. They then make a lot of fucking money doing fortune telling. Also, the design for their fortune telling sign is rad as fuck. And then 2 children show up at Polka's door. At which point, Takumi goes, "Oh no," recognizing this is a problem. And Corpse God goes, "Oh no," recognizing also a problem. They are Polka's niece and nephew. Things happen in this scene. Polka Corpse God tries to play off that he's not Polka, and instead, the Corpse God. Maybe shouldn't have said that one. And then the younger sister, then the sister of the 2 twins, I'm imagining they're twins, they look so fucking much alike. But the sister goes and lays down a little handkerchief and sits down in front of Polka and is like, "I hear you tell fortunes. Tell our fortune, Polka. Cousin Polka. Uncle Polka. It's Uncle Polka. We want to know. We want to know what you're doing. No, it's Uncle, because they're his niece and nephew. Yeah. So it's Uncle. And so they're just like, yeah, we want to see what you're doing out here. You've been gone, and they kind of make some implications that the original Polka was kind of a coward, kind of ran away a lot. Is his name Takumi? I called him Takumi, but I actually don't remember. I'm so bad with his name.
Make me feel like it's a whatchamacallit character.
Fire Emblem? Yes, so that is a Fire Emblem character name.
Takumi. I hate him.
What's Orguy's name?
I don't remember.
I'm gonna pull it up.
Really don't.
Is it Tetsuo?
No, because that's my home hero.
No.
Oh, god damn it. So many T's.
It might be Tetsuya.
It is Takumi.
Is it Takumi?
Okay.
Base. I am good at my job, and it's Takumi. Wow. And then Takumi's kind of, and then this little girl gets a little uppity at Takumi. It's like, "You poor people." And Takumi, she goes, "What are you gonna do about me being here?" And Takumi goes, "Call the cops. You're entering a business after it's closed without permission, demanding service. I'm gonna call the cops. I'm a little poor boy of the common folk who only can rely on authority." And this bit's so good.
It's really funny.
And then Polka stands up and goes, "Takumi, stop." And this scene is so good, where he goes, "You're about to make this child cry," as she's on the verge of tears. And then he brings them both into a hug, and is like, "I'm gonna take care of you. I'm going to protect you. Everything will be all right. You deserve to live. I'm going to right all the wrongs. I am coming home. I am going to solve the problems. And he starts talking about things that make no sense to these children as we very clear his evil eye kicks in and he's talking to a gone insane spirit of what is presumably their mother.
Yeah.
God, this episode goes so hard.
It does.
And then Takumi's like, are you sure you should go home to your large family corporation that has, like, immense sway and power that you know nothing about? And Polka's like, it'll be fine. But you know what? In my previous life, I did have 2 bodyguards, an undead general and a zombie.
And it's, one was a zombie, and one of them was an undead tiger.
And Takumi just goes, no, you can't have that. As he tries to dress up a skeleton in armor to recreate it. And Takumi goes, you have to have like a human who'd be willing to protect you and do whatever you say and understand the situation. And then they both stare at Misaki. And she's like, what? Huh? Sorry, I was too busy fucking around. I have ADHD.
She is the most ADHD character I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, sorry, I forgot about a really base thing earlier in the episode, which is while Lemmings is trying to take her away during the fight, she goes and bites him, and she goes, oh, I can't bite through your bandages. And then she takes the fork she's had in her mouth the whole time and stabs him in the leg to slightly paralyze him. That bit is so fucking good.
That bit was fucking fantastic. Because it's cool, because it's well thought out.
Yeah. And it's
like,
one of those things where it's
shit,
like,
that works.
it's one of those things where, in like thinking back on it, you're like, oh, we really set up for this moment. You really planned to make sure, as a writer, she would have a fork that would have her saliva for her to use, and it is in character for her to fucking keep the fork in her mouth the entire episode.
Yes.
It's really cool that way. Also, when he meets with his boss, we get Lemming's name. I feel like he calls him No. He calls him...
it's Nezu.
Nezu? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta keep an eye out for that as we go.
I mean, so it's...
Is Nezu just a term?
Nezu is just mouse. So...
Yeah. Which could be just another thing to compare to Lemmings, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Might not be a name. Other important thing is that Polka goes, you know what Lemmings reminded me of? That Divine Warrior paladin from my past. But different. He's very much human. He's something.
Yeah.
And then we get a post. And then the children are walking back to the car as they are returning from visiting Polka, and older brother. Yeah, right.
Uncle?
Yeah. No,
I think it's uncle.
They say Onisama, which is older brother. So, I guess it's their older brother. I don't know. Like,
I forget it's implied uncle because it's obviously clearly it's gonna be related to like this inheritance battle or whatever. But
no, because Polka's the uncle, and they clearly
and he's the
to
second,
him
and
as
he's
uncle.
the second son.
Yes.
So this would make more sense if they're the main line of the family, which we also clearly have some information about that we can talk about.
Oh, did my thing freeze? We're good.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
But yeah, he's just kind of like, "Hey kids, how's Polka doing?" And the most terrifying fucking way to frame that character, those 2 kids and in the deranged and in the gone insane spirit behind them. The design for that is so good.
It's really
very
good.
And then we get a post-credit scene. Did both of you see this?
No, I didn't.
Oh,
I think I might have missed it.
We get a post-credit scene with his father, with Polka's father in his estate, where he goes, oh, so he's playing
Fortune teller.
He's playing fortune teller. I guess he gets that from you, and it pans to a shot of Polka's mother, a frame photo of Polka's mother. And then he goes, "Guess I can't die yet."
Maybe so.
We've said this in previous weeks. These characters are cool. The designs are rad. You can very much feel the Durarara character, ooze out of all of these. They're all very clearly characters, all very clearly fleshed out and have a purpose in the story. to introduce another entire branch that ties back the original body of this corpse god to the story, and immediately have me very connected to 2 children and a guy who I'm very much not going to like.
Mhm.
This episode, on top of that end credit scene, which does even additional wonders for it, this episode's incredible. This episode rocks, and the fight looks good. I mean, from beginning to end, this episode's a fucking ride.
Yeah, it's just good. Like,
and this screenshot of Polka with the hood of the corpse god and Polka's body with the hood down, sometimes I look at his outfit and I go, God, it's so fucking dumb. Raw as fuck for this scene.
Yeah.
The black and white cover, it's so good. I'm very excited to see where this show goes. Probably one of the shows I'm most excited to keep watching for now. I hope it can keep up what it brought this week.
Mm.
Mm.
No,
I definitely think it's ramping up. It's the good thing.
Yeah, like this was the episode this show needed, I think, by far.
I'm glad we figured out what we're doing. That was like the thing we were talking about. We're like, where does this show go? We don't know. Oh, we kind of did have it on a loose thread, huh? We did kind of have the why was Polka targeted? I didn't think we were going to jump into it because that felt like something you normally save for later, but this show's 2 cores. Crazy.
Yeah.
I'm excited for this.
I am too. Like, I think this will probably go further than 2 cores based on how it's going, and also how Durarara went.
Yeah. Also, this might be biased of me. This might not be fair. I fucking love this opening, dude. It's so good.
I finally added it to my Spotify today because it's just fucking great.
Like,
thank you so.
We cut into this opening, and I'm like, yes. Oh.
The last one.
Last one. Hey, John. Yamada-Kun.
All right. So last show of the podcast is one that's a little bit divisive as per usual. So obviously, Yamada-Kun this week we have our main girl who is told she's gonna go hang out with Runa-chan, and she's not hanging out with Runa-chan. She's hanging out with the creeper. Who's really obsessed with Ruihime. Ruihime.
Yeah, Ruihime.
Ruihime. And so basically she gets set up to go meet this guy by Runa, who's just excited for her tutoring session. And he just goes, I'm surprised you're here because I thought you made plans on Saturday. She's like, no. He's like, okay, well, I'm going to run to the store then and find out where you told her to meet you because clearly you did and you've done something. So we're going to fix this. So you can stay here and do more practice problems, but we're going to fix this. And I'm going to tell your brother. Akane, completely out of sorts, just confused, is just told she's meeting with like her gamer friend too. So she's incredibly lost. And just decides, okay, I need to go hide in the bathroom now because that's what you have to do. So which this guy who's so socially inept, he's like, of course. Like my mother told me, I should go knock on the bathroom stall in the women's room to make sure she's okay, because that's not creepy. And so he does that. And so eventually they get the whole gang together. They call the old guy who like rushes over and they drive to this coffee shop where all the boys come in and they help save Akane, who has her leg wrapped now because she got startled and then kicked the toilet with her chin. For some reason needing a bandage on it, I guess. Maybe like cut it. It's a sharp toilet. But or bruised it or something, who knows. But and then getting up to see everyone, she hits her shin again.
Oh, poor girl. Poor girl. I felt that in my veins.
I felt that emotionally.
I've been there, man.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Side story. My girlfriend did some cleaning, and outside of this room right here, there's like a big like wooden box. It's just like right outside the door. I've been here twice since they put that there. I've kicked it 3 times, twice with my shin, and now once with my foot. And I'm like, I'm going to kick a toenail right in like off, and I'm gonna hate it. It's one of those things, you know, where you know you're gonna find the corner every time.
Yep.
But besides the point, all the boys come to the rescue, and Runa's kind of jealous and refuses to apologize. And then she goes, "Oh no, my stomach! I need stomach medicine. Please, all the boys and Creeper, or all the boys, please go to the store. Yamada, go, and then you make sure he doesn't get lost. And then you go too, just because. And you get lost to the Creeper guy. And so she bonds with Runa a bit. And they agree to go like questing and stuff. Is the short TLDR. But most importantly, I think it's funny that what was the one part that I really liked about that? I can't remember because I watched it at work and my brain has been fried. But either way, I just like how she like separated the pack that way. I think it was cute. I thought this episode was okay. I saw a lot of things better this week.
Yeah. That's where I am.
And it was line where she's like, I could sit here and scold you, but I think your brother's gonna have that handled. He was
so rightfully
which,
so.
And again,
Yes.
I agree that like I like how the boys handle this, where it's like you're a
They
child,
know.
so we will scold you and we'll forgive you, but you don't realize how dangerous what you have done is.
Yes.
So we're going to find her right now, and we will deal with this later. Which is again exactly how the situation should play out in a normal
Yes.
scenario. These are
You
good
sh-
friends. These are good people, and the situation handled well, and they're lucky it wasn't anything worse.
You should not tell the only adult, however, who's taking you that she's been kidnapped. Maybe not the best play, guys. Come on now.
Yeah, but
I get
also,
it. It's a gag. It's fine. But
it's a gag, and also I appreciate Eita for this because he's like,
Oh.
no, this is going to get them. This is going to get him here the fastest.
that's true. Yeah, he does know
Are
how
we
to...
voting off Blue Orchestra again this week?
Hmm?
Did you put the voting out?
No, Blue Orchestra shouldn't be there.
Oh, it was on. Did I click the wrong one? I am an idiot. I think I clicked the wrong week.
Yeah,
That's
joke's
wild.
on you, loser.
That's wild.
So there are a couple of things I really do
we
like
won.
about this episode. And like I kept thinking about it. I'm gonna flip over the power ranking grid. I kept thinking about it. I'm like, this show should be higher. I want to put this show higher, but I don't know what to put it over. Because I really like everything I have above
Right.
it. That's like my big problem. Is I'm like because here's the thing, this show does a lot of things direction-wise that are absolutely beautiful. A lot of scenes, a lot of shots are great. I love the
Yeah.
flashbacks being done on Yamada's phone. I think that fucking rocks so much.
The bit too where like it pans around from
Yeah,
her leg to Runa, like
so good.
that shot didn't need to look as pretty as it did.
And there's just there, and it's also the way that when Yamada walks up, the way he sees Akane and is like, oh, she's been through something. Like he could tell.
She's had a day.
He can read that she is not the same as she normally is, and knows she's putting on a front when everybody walks up.
Yeah.
I adore the way they portray the scene through Akane's eyes, because afterwards we learn, it wasn't nearly what we were seeing. But goddamn, if you are a woman in that situation, is that how you feel? And I think I'm not. We're not women. We can't say that this does
You
the
can't
job.
prove that.
We're not
You
women.
haven't seen my dick like Mason had. What?
We're not women. We cannot prove that this is accurate enough or well done enough to be like, yeah, great job. But from my experiences with people, you don't understand what it's like to be them in those situations. And by far, the thing that, to me, that I was like, God fucking damn, when he shakes that fucking stall handle, like, he should not be in there at all. To fucking try to open a stall door, a women's stall door with a woman inside it.
You unlock it and kick that fucking door
Jesus
open and
Christ,
run.
dude.
Like,
But like,
that's your best option.
It perfectly understandable why she reacts the way she does.
Mhm.
Why things that to this guy who's just here admiring his idol and who's going to check on her because he's worried, how all of that can just not at all be what he is, from his end, what she is going through. Perfectly well done. I love it. And the fact that he doesn't get any sympathy, he doesn't get any redeeming quality. Like, obviously, in some ways, he is a victim that he was set up for this meeting, but he is still an obsessed stalker. He still should not be here, and he still crossed many lines that he just needs to fucking get out of here.
Also, the fact that like the little details that the show goes through is like really astounding too. How, like it's like it shows like, oh yeah, she logged into my account and sent this message. This is him from a previous game that this guy followed him through because he liked his character basically. And so it's like the little things the show does to like not quite world build because like it is just a real like life world basically, but like the things the show does to like create this like narrative and like to paint the picture fully while not having to go like we're gonna show her going onto his account for like 5 minutes, and doing this. It's like, no, you can just subtly be like, oh, I see how this happened. This is where they
But-
met up because she won't tell us.
But that's the cool thing.
And that the characters are smart to figure it out themselves because she didn't tell them anything.
Which
They went, oh, you messaged someone else that you're saying a friend. Let's take a look and see what happened.
Which, thank God these two are smart in this regard. This is the area where they should excel. This is the shit they should know about. Is, oh, you contacted someone? I know where I'm gonna have to go look. Oh, like, I should be immediate. Like, the fact that they immediately recognize the red flag and go, no, you just fucked up. Yeah, and you don't understand it, and and we'll talk about that later, but you fucked up and we gotta go fix this.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Ada is a college kid, so these are like older characters, right? Like, obviously, like our main character Yamada is 17.
But he
like,
spends
Ada's
so
a
much time
kid.
online that you have to believe he's gotta know.
Yeah.
I love that like
Yamada
these
absolutely
characters are
knows.
smart. Like the fact that these characters show their own intelligence and their age is really, really cool.
And and Yamada's not like a
And they're gamers
terminally-
and they get it.
Yeah, but Yamada's not like a terminally online guy who like plays like there are different types of gamers that fall down different pipelines of how they see and understand the world. He is someone who is engaged in a community like an MMO community with voice chats with friends that very clearly understands things that are good and not good to have on an online community or in real life meetups, right? So like this all checks. Like nothing in his character feels out of place. And what I adore about this episode is exactly what I said last week that I'm glad it continued off of. And, from my complaint the first week of the podcast, Akane is an adult at the end of this situation with her. She handles her in a way that is extremely mature. That is letting the right people handle it and also recognizing... What did you do? And
Images you can hear.
I'm not playing it. But also in a way that very much, shows that like she wants to be a part of this group. She was once a young kid. She can understand why she did this. And that was the part of the episode that I like. There's the moment obviously where she doesn't know that she was still, that she basically got pranked, haha, funny, that she got stood up and it was all part of her plan. But once she does realize it, she isn't like, oh, fuck that girl. Like, she thinks. And the show gives you time to show that she thinks about the situation, to figure out how she wants to approach it.
Mm-hmm. I'm a big fan of this show. I like the romance and stuff. It's just like my other two shows just feel really good in that regard too. That this one like feels more like a almost like, I hate using the word, but like a normie rom-com, right? Where it's like, they're gamers, I'm a gamer. Like, whereas the other two are actually like, you have to just be like in a mood for those shows. Whereas this one you could just pick up and watch whenever, because you're gonna get what you expect out of it probably. Whereas like Insomniacs, I feel like it's definitely like more of like vibe oriented show, right?
So I think with this, it's like there's a bit of a spectrum where Insomniacs is on the far end of like serious romance, and this is on the comedy romance, and Skip and Loafer is like right in the middle.
They're all
true.
doing, and they're all, the cool thing is they're all doing different things with their pairings, right?
They're doing it really well.
Like, Insomniacs is the, immediate love, like kind of an instant connection on both sides. Skip and Loafer is a this is building, and it's kind of the classical this is building. And this show is kind of the love is non-existent in a way. The love's like all kind of, at least in my opinion, from where we are right now, all the romantic feelings between Yamada and Akane are all hangovers from the past, or like for at least for Akane. And Yamada has no interest besides maybe slowly starting to gain some respect and interest in Akane as a person.
Yeah, he's like warming up to her, but he's not like, he isn't falling in love with her.
And that might just be because he doesn't know. Right? He doesn't have the experience. He doesn't get it. I mean, he said that he doesn't get
girls.
love. He
doesn't
get
girls,
love.
but he understands how the world works.
Yeah.
At least from like the gamer perspective, right? He understands how this stuff works.
I'm glad that these three.
I don't think he's oblivious. I just
different.
think he's obviously had some stuff happen in his past. Probably is what it comes down to.
Yeah, it's very possible he's just a type of person who just doesn't click with emotions as well. Just doesn't. He has his place. Also, shout outs to DPI.
Yeah.
This episode starts with that, and it's just
What?
what a really nice way to do it too. They
What
just
was
put
he
it
doing?
on.
Just sliding his mouse?
He was adjusting the DPI on his mouse.
Does he not know his numbers? Like, come on, you're a pro gamer. You know your numbers.
I mean, he might have just been flipping between a new game or something. Who knows?
Maybe he's a Byfield guy. Maybe he's doing it with maybe it's for going for the casual game. I get that.
Some people open up a game of Overwatch and they set the DPI to fucking max so they can just swing Reinhardt's hammer around like an idiot, and then they gotta fix it. They gotta just.
It's true. It's like how I unbind my E key.
Yeah.
Just when I play Vladimir, so I have to like double tap it instead of holding it.
No, I will say overall, again, we kind of said last week, solid week for shows. Wasn't like any episode was atrociously bad.
Yeah.
Like Marginal Service is fine. It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
Some things to run through. Where is what I want? What did I have it? Which screen did I have it on? There it is. It's this screen. Blah, blah, blah. Do. Don't mind me, I'm just gonna wind up. Here, I will. So, there's the next little thing. Let's bring it up. We got our standings by the week. Based on this week's, if we were to take the averages of our 3, which this is all a little skewed because Michael's not here, the data really gets thrown off by having one less number thrown in comparatively, so some drops are gonna be really extreme. But yeah, so by the weekly rating, obviously Marginal at the bottom. Huge jump for Dead Mount Deathplay. It really is like this 3-way run between Insomniacs, Skip and Loafer, and Hell's Paradise, where it's like at any point in time those 3 can just shuffle depending on how we vote for a week. So yeah, I think that's really interesting. And then I told Mason about this. I will also send this. I meant to send the other one on. I meant to send the other one to you, and I didn't actually hit send. Whoops.
Oh, it's okay. That was more fun this way. Hey, we actually are getting some parody. As things start to spread out.
So
I finally dragged Hell's Paradise far enough down that my main shows are at the top.
So this is if you were to take the average ranking consistently through the week. So at the end of week 3, if you were to take all of our, where we put the shows on the power ranking, and you were to add them up and divide them by 3, you would Insomniacs consistently has just taken over Hell's Paradise. Really funny to see that My Home Hero technically has collectively the lowest rating, and did before. What I am doing now is I'm italicizing anytime something that would be considered an upset happens. So Blue Orchestra technically upset because it was by data ways it shouldn't be the one to exactly right. This week technically Marginal Service because we consistently were higher on it than we were on My Home Hero, most likely due to My Home Hero's first episode, or first week on the podcast where we were hesitant.
We're in like darkness right now. Whoops.
We were a little hesitant about it. But I just think these are interesting. I think it really shows, Heavenly Delusion and Mashle have like this consistent spot that is kind of keeping it still as like,
right in the middle.
Dead Mount Deathplay had a really good week this week, but not good enough to put it over those shows, which is probably accurate in that regard. I think it's interesting to look at. I think it's really cool.
But the green shows that it's like ramping up, whereas the other two seem like they're like holding steady.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting. Yamada's kind of been like pretty consistent on where it is. On kind
Yamada's
of
had by far the biggest variance in placements because like it's either like I'm putting it high and everyone else is putting it low, or everyone else is putting it high and I'm putting it low, and it's like it's very bizarre.
I think what usually winds up happening is someone puts it kind of low, someone puts it kind of high, and then two people have it about dead in the middle. Is kind of how it tends to be when all 4 of us are here.
I think it's funny how like that show like feels like it's had some of the biggest variance in rankings, other than like me and Hell's Paradise, but like I guess
Okay.
Mason and Skip and Loafer probably is the biggest
So-
variance. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's me, Sean, and Michael are like top 3. Mason's like off in 3 weeks.
I mean, Hell's Paradise in that regard
It's not
too.
even that.
Hell's Paradise, the 3 of us. Sorry, Mason.
I was just gonna say, like, when it comes to Skip and Loafer, it's not that it's like off in 3 weeks.
No, it's just a lot of good.
There's a lot of good stuff this season.
Mhm.
And, like, I think Skip and Loafer is just sometimes it's very neutral, and
Yeah.
I think that's fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's just I think other shows do more.
Skip and Loafer
So-
really feels like it's a character drama centered rom-com. And if you don't like the characters you're engaging with that week, you're probably not going to enjoy the episodes as much. I didn't like it last week for that reason comparatively. I really liked this week because I enjoyed the dynamic we got. I'm sure when we focus on our other 2 girls, if we do more stuff with our nerd and our foreign queen, that Mason's probably gonna be more on board for those.
Yeah,
He's probably gonna really like those.
I didn't talk about the manga I read. Oshinoko came out this week, and it was a banger. So
crazy.
they announced season 2 for Oshinoko. Big shocker! Wow, shocker! But we're gonna adapt the best arc of the entire fucking show.
It's almost like that show
Essentially.
is single-handedly carrying High Dive.
that reminds me. There was one thing I forgot to mention during our what have we done this week, and it was I read the entirety of a new manga this last
did?
night. Yeah,
The Giga one?
yeah, it is the Giga one. It's
I don't want to watch the video.
It's smoking. Hold on. A story about smoking at the back of the supermarket. It's very good. It's just 2 characters. It's an older salaryman named Sasaki, and he likes going to this girl at the convenience store every day named Yamada. And then one day he's like, God, I really need a cigarette, and he goes back behind the supermarket and gets pulled back there by a girl named Yamata. And the author makes a point to show you that Yamada and Tamaya, excuse me, it's Yamada and Tamaya. Their names are literally just the 2 characters that make them up reversed. That's all it is. But Yamada is like this very cheerful and happy attendant, and Tamaya is a goth girl. And it's just wonderful. These 2 are just such good characters.
I now understand what caused you to binge read it.
It wasn't even just that. It's just like
No, I know.
though. Look, Tamaya also does kind of remind me of my girlfriend a little bit.
Fair.
It's fine.
By the way, guys, results are in. Only 2 shows have any slays on them. So anything I'm not going to talk about, full saves. Surprise. There is 1 slay on My Home Hero and 3 slays on Marginal Service. 2 probably nobody's surprise.
Yeah.
God, that show, dude.
I feel like it is something that would be fun for all of us to just be in a Discord call to watch. Unfortunately, that's not how we watch things anymore.
Yeah, we don't always have the time to do that.
I work 12-hour shifts at nighttime, so I am up until 7 in the morning, but I don't function until a little after 8.
I work 1 to 10, which means
At night.
depending on how my day was, sometimes I'm really tired.
Mm-hmm.
And like yesterday, I did not get on yesterday, and I intended to, because, oops, yesterday kind of fucking sucked work-wise. It was busy.
I figured that's probably what happened.
Yeah. But we will be here next week. No Michael again. We'll see. I might adjust stuff. Depending on how Michael watches the shows. If he does it one at a time and feels like he wants to power rank and tell me his favorite show for episodes 5 and 6, I'll adjust them accordingly. Otherwise, whoops, we won't have it. Which is fine. But yeah, we're gonna call it there. No more Marginal Service. We'll see you guys next time. Have a good night.